in this world, day and night cycle every 30 minutes. Monsters come out to hunt at night, reverting to human form during the day. However, in low-light conditions, monsters can appear even during the daytime. These are the rules of the day and night slaughter. But while I was sleeping peacefully in my dorm, I had no idea the world outside had drastically changed. In the middle of the night, I suddenly woke up. The smell of blood and decay permeated the room. A sickening crunching and chewing sound echoed in my ears. I looked toward the source of the noise, only to see across from me a figure hunched over on the bed. I couldn't tell what it was eating. Unable to stand the thickening stench, I reflexively spoke up and asked Su Ming, "What on earth are you eating?" Suddenly, a wave of dread washed over me. Before I could even think, I saw a massive dark shadow lunging toward me. The next thing I knew, my vision went black and I lost consciousness completely. When I woke up again, my head was spinning and throbbing. A line of faint blue text appeared before my eyes. Spirituality of 3 lifetimes. What is this? Recalling the words I saw before blacking out, it seemed like I had died. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was a message from my roommate Zhang Yan. "Lin Che, if you're awake, don't make a sound. Su Ming is already dead. You're next." I looked at the message in absolute shock. I immediately turned to look at Su Ming's bed. The figure hunched over the bed was far too large. Clearly not Su Ming's size. The foul smell in the air became even more nauseating and pungent. The constant sound of squelching and chewing continued from the other side like a wild beast devouring flesh. At that moment, a question popped into my head. If that isn't Su Ming on the bed, then who is it? And what is it eating? A powerful sense of unease filled my heart. My phone vibrated again. "There is a monster in our dorm, but it's blind. You'll be safe for now as long as you don't make a sound." Su Ming was eaten directly, only because he was snoring too loudly. My eyes widened as I read these lines. Isn't the vibration of the phone also a sound? Realizing this, I hurried to put my phone on silent mode. The dorm finally fell silent. But then I discovered to my horror that the monster was gone. Just as I was about to type a follow-up question, I suddenly felt a chill on the top of my head. I instinctively looked up, and my scalp instantly went numb. An unknown creature was hanging upside down from the ceiling, staring straight at me. In the next second, the monster's neck eerily elongated, and it bit my head off in one gulp. My vision plunged into darkness once again. Opening my eyes for the 3rd time, I felt a splitting headache. The small blue text in front of me had changed accordingly. Spirituality 0. I suddenly felt cold all over. Losing 1 life deducts 30 points. If I die again, will I really be gone for good? Looking at the large figure on the opposite bed, it seemed to be feeding excitedly. The constant sound of chewing and swallowing made my hair stand on end. I fought the urge to jump out of bed and run, quickly taking out my phone to switch it to silent mode. At that moment, a mechanical voice rang out in my mind. Detected talent awakening. Starting binding process. Binding successful. Reward, 30.0 spirituality points. With a thought, I opened the status screen. Name Lin Che. Talent, Jade Dream. Spirituality, 30. Exchangeable. I was instantly drawn to the talent column. Jade Dream. Does this mean a dream of Jade? Could the times I just died have been dreams? And am I still in a dream now? My expression shifted uneasily. Then I focused my attention on the word exchangeable. The system immediately popped up. A text prompt. Exchange 1, 3 attribute points. Can increase strength, spirit, etc. Exchange 2, 3 skill points. Can upgrade conventional skills. Looking at my pathetic skills, I exchanged the spirituality points for attribute points and began to deliberate nervously. However, just as I was considering where to put the attribute points, I felt a slight chill on top of my head. I looked up and saw that terrifying face once again. Even though I was holding my breath, I fell into an unprecedented state of terror. I watched helplessly as that face got closer and closer. Clinging to my last shred of sanity, I screamed in my head, "Put everything into spirit. You used 3 attribute points. Your spirit increased by 3. Current spirit, 9. Along with the system prompt, I felt a sudden wave of clarity wash over my brain. My thoughts became instantaneous and smooth. Suddenly, a brilliant idea struck me. Since sound attracts the monster's attention, if I throw something to create a noise, can I lure it away? I didn't dare hesitate, immediately grabbing the earphone case by my pillow and throwing it. Almost the instant the case hit the floor, the monster on the ceiling lunged out with a whoosh. I barely had time to roll out of bed. Before I could even stand steady, I heard the earphone case being crushed into pieces by the monster with a crunch. The next second, the dorm returned to silence. I noticed that although I was still very afraid, it wasn't as overwhelming as before. This led to a suspicion in my mind. Does getting closer to the monster cause a loss of sanity? Just then, the monster suddenly turned around and pounced toward my bed. Seeing this, I broke into a cold sweat. Luckily, I got out of bed in time. Otherwise, I would have certainly been eaten by that monster. Feeling the monster right beside me, a massive surge of fear enveloped my entire body once again. My theory was proven right. However, before I could catch my breath, the monster changed targets and crawled toward the foot of the bed. My heart tightened at the sight. The bed adjacent to the foot of mine was Zhang Yan's. What do I do? Zhang Yan can't die. I racked my brain in a panic. When I saw the water cup on the table, I suddenly had a brainwave. I quickly sent Zhang Yan a message. I'll throw a cup to distract it. Get out of bed immediately. Coincidentally, a message from Zhang Yan also arrived. Find a way to make noise to distract the monster. Then take the chance to turn on the lights. It's daytime right now. As long as the lights are on, the monster will disappear. I found this message strange. Daytime? But it's clearly night right now. Despite my doubts, I grabbed the cup and threw it. Then, without looking at the monster's reaction, I dashed toward the door and slapped the light switch. The moment the lights flickered on, the monster indeed vanished, but the scene inside the dorm made me shudder. Su Ming's bed was covered in blood. Gory remains that would need to be censored met my eyes. At that moment, Zhang Yan's slightly irritated voice came. What's with the noise? Can't a person get some sleep? Why did you turn on the lights? And what's that horrible smell? However, the next second after seeing the scene in the dorm, he jumped out of bed in shock. What the hell is going on? Don't tell me that pile of stuff is Su Ming. I stared at him, my voice trembling. Zhang Yan, were you sleeping this whole time? Zhang Yan seemed puzzled. Duh, of course I was sleeping. What else would I be doing? Hearing this, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. If Zhang Yan was sleeping the whole time, then who was the person texting me just now? Thinking of this, I quickly scrolled through my phone contacts. Sure enough, I found another Zhang Yan on my home screen. I clicked on it and the chat history was right there. In an instant, I understood. Someone was impersonating Zhang Yan to chat with me. Just then, another message came through. When you turn on the lights, you must hide it. Don't let anyone know that it's me messaging you. I swallowed hard and slowly typed 3 words. Who are you? At that moment, Yu Tungwen, who slept in the bed adjacent to Su Ming, also sat up. He looked equally startled. Lin Che, Zhang Yan, were you guys awake already? What happened? I didn't answer. I just stared intensely at the reply on my phone. I am the future Zhang Yan. I know your mind is a mess right now, and you might still doubt me, but please believe me, I won't hurt you. The monster has only temporarily disappeared. Do not let your guard down. In this world, day and night cycle every 30 minutes. Monsters hunt at night. They return to human form during the day. But if the light is insufficient, the monster will appear even in the daytime. The current time is 2:35. At 3 a.m., the monster will appear again. Before that, you must kill Yu Tungwen. Because he is that monster. The dorm has been sealed off. Before the life and death struggle is over, no one can leave. Reading the last sentence, I felt a bad premonition. I quickly tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Seeing this, Zhang Yan came over to pull the handle. His expression immediately changed. Why won't the door open? Then Yu Tungwen and Zhang Yan rushed to the windows, but no matter how they banged on them, there was no reaction. Yu Tungwen was in a total panic. Should we call the police? Zhang Yan's face was extremely grim. No, I already tried. The phones have no signal or internet. Even emergency calls won't go through. I stood to the side, carefully watching Zhang Yan and Yu Tungwen's expressions. Both looked panicked and frantic, which are normal reactions for a human. My mind was racing. Logically, I should trust the Zhang Yan on my phone. After all, if not for the warning earlier, I would probably be dead by now. But the person was telling me to kill Yu Tungwen. Is this person really Zhang Yan? 1,000 thoughts crossed my mind. I pinched my thigh hard to force myself to stay calm. Whether the fake Zhang Yan's words were true or false, I had to find the real monster, and I had to make them show a clear weakness. Only then could I get help. Acting rashly would definitely be blocked by the other person, and I might even be mistaken as the one who killed Su Ming. Thinking of this, I decided to test them first. Calm down, both of you. There's something I must tell you right now. There is a monster in our dorm. Su Ming was eaten by it. The monster vanished after I turned on the light, but it's likely still in here with us. Hearing this, both of them were stunned. Yu Tungwen started shaking all over. That's impossible, right? How can there be monsters in this world? Lin Che, maybe you saw this bloody scene and got so scared that your brain's defense mechanism hallucinated it. Zhang Yan nodded in agreement. Rather than a monster eating people, I'd honestly believe that this is a prank video. The doors and windows in our dorm must have been secretly swapped. Su Ming is probably hiding somewhere right now, laughing at us. The more Zhang Yan spoke, the more energetic he became. He went straight over to check Su Ming's bed. After a moment, he suddenly cried out, "This is a real corpse. Su Ming is really dead." Seeing both of them in a panic, I took control of the conversation again. "Alright, stop guessing. I definitely saw the monster. It was absolutely not a hallucination. And regardless of whether you believe me, the most important question is, where is the monster? I suspect the monster is hidden inside one of our bodies, that it has already taken someone over." At those words, the expressions of the other two turned sour. Zhang Yan yelled in confusion, "What do you mean? Are you saying the monster can be a parasite?" I groaned. I pondered for a moment. "It's just a hypothesis. I think even if the monster can take over a human body, it might not have all their memories. We can each say something that only the three of us would know. Maybe that will make the monster show its true colors. I'll go first. During freshman military training, I did a middle part hair comb and a basketball dance, and I even showed off some Kuan Quan moves." Zhang Yan thought for a moment. "That day, I performed one-finger pull-ups for everyone and sparred in wrestling with the instructor." Yu Tongwen swallowed hard. "I just broke up with my girlfriend the day before yesterday, and you guys accompanied me for some drinks." After they finished, Yu Tongwen and Zhang Yan both clearly looked relieved. But I wasn't so optimistic. I tested Yu Tongwen further. "Yu Tongwen, did you feel anything strange before you woke up?" Hearing my question, Yu Tongwen shook his head. "No." I raised an eyebrow and walked toward him. "The smell of blood in the dorm is so strong, and Su Ming has been turned into a pile of mangled flesh. You were sleeping in the very next bed. You really didn't feel anything at all?" Zhang Yan didn't vomit because his father is a forensic doctor who often took him to crime scenes. "But you're usually the most cowardly. How can you see this and not want to throw up?" I pushed Yu Tongwen back step by step. He fell back onto the floor. "What exactly are you trying to say?" "Maybe it's because I was sleeping too soundly. You can't just say I'm a monster based on that." Yu Tongwen's eyes were red, looking exactly like someone who was wrongly accused and angry. I frowned. His expression didn't seem faked. Could it be that Yu Tongwen really was just asleep, and that's why he didn't feel terror? Was I wrong? Or was the monster just that good at acting? I glanced at the light switch by the door. Do I still have to use that method? According to the future Zhang Yan's hints, the monster kills according to the rules of day and night. The monster did disappear after I turned the lights on, so if I turn them off, it's very likely to appear again. Then it would be clear who the monster is. I looked down at my phone. 2:46. I was out of time. I made up my mind, and immediately headed for the switch. But at that moment, a figure suddenly blocked my path. It was Yu Tongwen. His voice was trembling. "Zhang Yan, don't you think Lin Che is acting strange? And he's been looking at his phone this whole time. But none of us have a signal. Who on earth is Lin Che contacting?" "I suspect Lin Che is the monster. He's just trying to frame us." I was startled. Yu Tongwen definitely has a problem with his cowardly personality. How could he suddenly attack me like this? Especially in this environment. Unless he is the monster, trying to prevent me from turning off the lights. Realizing everything, I shouted coldly at Yu Tongwen. "Why are you so worked up? Is it because you're guilty? I am now completely certain that you are the hidden monster. And I have a way to make you reveal your true form immediately." Yu Tongwen didn't back down. "You've been the one talking the whole time. Who knows if what you're saying is true or false? I'd say you're the most suspicious one. Unless you let us see your phone." Under Yu Tongwen's deliberate guidance, Zhang Yan's attention finally fell on my phone. "Lin Che, why don't you let him see it first?" Hearing this, I kept a calm face. "I can show you the phone. But while you're checking it, this fake Yu Tongwen will definitely come up with other excuses. His real goal is to stall for time. I already know how to make him show his true form. Since the monster disappears when the lights are on, then if we turn them off now, the monster will definitely reappear. If we turn them back on the instant they go off, we'll see the monster's true face. We absolutely cannot let Yu Tongwen touch that switch, because once he becomes a monster, he can directly destroy the switch. If we can't turn the lights back on, we're dead." Hearing this, Zhang Yan shuddered, immediately running to the switch to keep a close eye on Yu Tongwen. Just as he was about to turn off the light for the test, Yu Tongwen suddenly yelled, "Zhang Yan, don't. I've awakened a mind-reading ability. Lin Che is the monster. If we turn off the light, we're as good as dead." I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, if I can really hear thoughts, I should say what you're thinking right now. As proof, right? Seeing Zhang Yan waver, Yu Tongwen continued, No way. Can Yu Tungwen really know what I'm thinking? How is that possible? He must be guessing. The more Yu Tungwen spoke, the wider Zhang Yan's eyes became. I was equally shocked. The monster actually has such a trick up its sleeve. Looking at the wavering Zhang Yan, I quickly interjected, this is just some special ability of the monster. Don't be manipulated by these tricks. Before 3 a.m., we must kill him. Otherwise, when the time comes, we'll all die. Zhang Yan, caught in the middle, was in a dilemma. Just then, Yu Tungwen suddenly let out a roar. I can prove myself. Then he suddenly lunged toward Su Ming's desk, grabbed a fruit knife, and slashed it across his own wrist without hesitation. I've been bullied since I started university. It was you guys who saved me. But now Su Ming has been eaten, and Lin Che's body has been taken over by a monster. I don't want you to die too. Instead of both of us dying when the lights go off, I'd rather be the only one who dies. Zhang Yan, can you believe me now? Seeing this, Zhang Yan was stunned. He was so moved that his eyes welled up. It seemed he now believed Yu Tungwen. Realizing the situation was spiraling out of control, I took a deep breath. Damn it! This self-harm tactic really hit Zhang Yan's weak spot. He's starting to doubt me now. If I insist that Yu Tungwen is the monster, Zhang Yan will surely turn against me. What do? I looked at my phone. The time was already 2:56. I'm running out of time. At this critical moment, the future Zhang Yan finally sent another message. Lin Che, haven't you killed Yu Tungwen yet? Time is running out. Here's another piece of vital information. Monsters that have just taken over a human body cannot digest a large amount of memory in a short time. They usually selectively integrate some basic human, common sense. Other memories require careful thought to recall. After reading this, I immediately looked up. Yu Tungwen, you just said you broke up the day before yesterday, but do you still remember the date you first met your girlfriend? Hearing this, Yu Tungwen had a pained expression. What other tricks are you trying to play? You've already been exposed. I cut him off immediately. Answer me right now. When we first met, who paid for the meal? What was your score on the English level 4 exam? This time, Yu Tungwen simply closed his eyes. Let me think. I didn't give him a chance. I went straight for the ultimate test. Tell me, how much is a cup of Palace Jade liquid wine? I fired off questions one after another, but Yu Tungwen still looked like he was about to die. I'm a bit tired. Let me think. Just then, a click interrupted our conversation. Zhang Yan had already pressed the switch. The instant the light went out, the monster's neck eerily elongated. Just as it was about to bite me, the light in the dorm suddenly flickered back on. The monster reappeared where it had just been sitting, transforming back into Yu Tungwen's appearance. I was instantly drenched in a cold sweat. Thank goodness Zhang Yan turned the light on quickly. Otherwise, I'd be dead for sure. Now, Zhang Yan was both shocked and furious. It really is a freaking monster, toying with my emotions. He immediately rushed over and kicked Yu Tungwen down, smashing him repeatedly with a metal stool. Seeing that Zhang Yan's attacks weren't hitting the vital spots, I lunged forward, picked up the fruit knife from the floor, and plunged it into Yu Tungwen's throat without hesitation. Then, I stabbed his heart several times in succession, before finally stopping. However, Yu Tungwen didn't turn back into a monster. Quickly grabbed my phone. The time was already 2:59. On the chat page, messages were constantly popping up from the future Zhang Yan. Have you killed Yu Tungwen yet? My time is running out. You must remember what I'm about to tell you. From the moment you step out of the dorm door, don't trust anyone anymore. Go to the roof of the dorm building as fast as possible, and jump straight down. That's the only way you'll have a chance to escape. Also, there's a girl named Chu Ting in the dorm building. If you meet her before you leave, tell her first trial. The node is in room 1104. In the days to come, do everything you can to survive. I scanned it briefly. There was no time to read it carefully. My fingers tapped rapidly on the screen. I've already killed Yu Tungwen, but why hasn't he turned back into a monster? A message from the future Zhang Yan popped up. Oh no, one of my messages just failed to send. The monsters have tenacious vitality. Only decapitation ensures the monster is truly dead. Damn it! How could such a critical piece of information fail to send? This must be the interference of the rules. Seeing this, I cursed under my breath. I quickly picked up the fruit knife again. However, at that moment, the already unrecognizable Yu Tungwen suddenly curled his lips into a bizarre smile. The next second, darkness descended. Everything in my line of sight vanished. Zhang Yan's scream had just begun, when it came to an abrupt halt. Then, a strange chewing sound echoed through the dorm. Driven by survival instinct, I immediately ran toward the switch, pressing it frantically over and over. But the light wouldn't come on. In the darkness, I felt a massive mouth, begin to gnaw at my chest. A wave of immense pain washed over me, and I lost consciousness completely. In the dead of night, in the dorm, I suddenly snapped my eyes open. I scrambled out of bed. I'm actually not dead? It was pitch black, impossible to see my own hand. The only sound was the intermittent chewing near my ear. My scalp tingled with fear. I quickly stifled my heavy breathing and fumbled for my phone by the pillow. The time was 2:30. My pupils shrunk. Was everything I just experienced a dream? I quickly set my phone to silent mode. Just then, a familiar mechanical voice echoed in my head. Detected that you have awakened a talent. Beginning binding. The binding was complete in less than a second. I skillfully pulled up the system panel. It was exactly the same as before, so that's how it is. Was that an omen dream? Now is the true reality. Being killed by the monster 3 times in a row. All happened within the dream. After the third death, spirituality hit 0, and so I woke up. Suddenly, I noticed my spirit attribute was actually 9. It turns out the attribute bonuses gained in the dream remain even after waking up. I glanced at my phone. Zhang Yan's message hasn't been sent yet. Can communication only be established in the dream? I took a deep breath. Now is not the time to think. The priority is to kill the monster first. I can't die again this time. I reached for the Bluetooth earphone by my pillow and tossed it out. Following a sharp click, that huge creature predictably lunged toward it. I took the opportunity to get down, grab a water cup from the desk, and threw it with all my might. At the instant, the sound of shattering rang out. I dashed to the switch by the door and flipped the light on. Zhang Yan's annoyed voice followed. Why did you turn on the light? What's that awful smell? Next, Yu Tungwen also climbed out of bed. Lin Che, Zhang Yan, are you both already awake? What on earth is going on? I didn't say much. I just ran to the door and pretended to try and open it. The result was obvious. Due to the restrictions of the rules, the door couldn't be opened at this time. Seeing this, Zhang Yan and Yu Tungwen both got off their beds and rushed over. I knew the door wouldn't open. Doing this was just to lure Yu Tungwen close to me. I opened my personal panel again. System, add points. Put them all into strength. You used 3 attribute points. Strength increased by 3. Current strength, 8. An indescribable aching sensation spread through my body. I felt my muscles swell instantly. Right now, I even had the confidence that I could kill a bull with 1 punch. Yu Tungwen, seeing me acting strange, hurried forward to ask, Lin Che, are you really? But before he could finish, I delivered a fierce kick. Yu Tungwen was slammed hard against the wall. Seeing this, Zhang Yan was pale with shock. He immediately grabbed my arm. What are you doing? I countered by grabbing Zhang Yan's wrist, pulling him back toward the switch. Yu Tungwen is a monster. He already ate Su Ming. My strength left Zhang Yan completely stunned. In his long-held impression, I was just a weakling, but the power I was showing now was actually greater than his. I held up my phone with one hand, the flashlight beam aimed directly at Yu Tungwen, while my other hand was placed on the switch. Zhang Yan, look closely. Click. The dorm lights went out. Yu Tungwen's frail body immediately twisted and swelled, transforming into a monster nearly 2 meters tall. Before Zhang Yan could even react, the monster was already flying toward us. Then, another click. Light returned to the dorm. Yu Tungwen had reverted to his original form, slumped on the floor, as if everything just now was merely an illusion. Zhang Yan's eyes were wide, completely unable to believe what he had just seen. By this time, I had already lunged out, snatching the fruit knife from Su Ming's desk. I didn't give Yu Tungwen a single chance to defend himself. With the bonus of 8 points in strength, Yu Tungwen had no power to resist. I pinned his head down firmly and separated it from his body with a single stroke. Looking at the decapitated monster on the floor, I felt a bit dazed. It went so smoothly this time. At the same time, the system's mechanical voice rang in my head. Ghost clone has been killed. Hearing this, I snapped out of my daze. What is a ghost? Such an insidious and cunning monster was actually just a clone? Then how terrifying must the real body be? I thought back to the hint Zhang Yan gave me at the last moment in the dream. From the moment you step out of the dorm door, don't trust anyone anymore. Clearly, this entire dorm building is filled with immense danger. I steadied my mind and continued checking the system prompts. Detected that this is your first kill of a supernatural creature. You have gained the right to use 1 extraordinary skill. The options are as follows. Extraordinary skill 1, mind reading. You can read the target's inner thoughts by touching their body with your palm. Extraordinary skill 2, berserk. In this state, your strength and agility attributes increase by 50%. Pain perception is reduced by 50%. Extraordinary skill 3, clone. You can separate any body tissue to transform into a clone. The clone's attributes are 50% of your main bodies. Please choose within 10 seconds. Failure to do so will be seen as forfeiture. Seeing this, I was overjoyed at first. Killing supernatural creatures can actually increase spirituality points. This is the foundation for strengthening my power. Then I considered the options carefully. All of these abilities are very practical. However, although Berserk can enhance strength compared to the monsters in the dream, still not quite enough. Clone might be able to catch enemies off guard at a critical moment, but after all, its attributes are only 50% of my own. Against current monsters, it would probably just get insta-killed, while mind reading has a higher room for error. If I'm faced with another difficult choice, I could at least make one accurate judgment. Thinking of this, I made up my mind. I choose mind reading. The next second, the system's mechanical voice followed. You have obtained the extraordinary skill mind reading. I let out a long breath. The short 3 minutes since I got out of bed made it feel as if a lifetime had passed. Zhang Yan's constant cursing was still going on beside me. I stepped forward and patted his shoulder. Zhang Yan, I know you probably have many questions, but the situation is urgent now. I'm only asking you once. Can you trust me unconditionally from now on? And stand by my side no matter what I do? After hearing this, Zhang Yan nodded without even thinking. Crap, of course I have to believe you. We're brothers from another mother. I'd even trust you with my life. I ignored his joking around and opened the dorm door with the fruit knife in hand. As I stepped across the threshold, an indescribably thick smell of blood instantly filled my nostrils. What greeted my eyes was a hellish scene. The entire corridor was bathed in a dim, bloody light. Not far away, more than 10 people were gathered, their noisy voices mixed with shouts of, "Kill him! Hurry up and kill him!" I instinctively wanted to retreat back into the room, but the soles of my shoes made a squelching sound on something sticky. This small sound instantly drew everyone's attention. Someone shouted, "Room 412's door is open." In an instant, gaze after gaze fixed upon us. How come 2 people came out this time? Are they all monsters? Doesn't matter what they are. Get them under control first. Everyone was talking at once, approaching us aggressively. Seeing this, my heart tightened. Originally, I had planned to head to the roof as fast as possible after leaving the room, but the horrifying, bloody scene in the corridor forced me to be cautious. The students around us had terrified expressions, yet none of them were fleeing. This could only mean one thing. They were all trapped. I didn't hesitate. I immediately converted the 10 spirituality points into 1 attribute point and added it to strength. Then I gripped the fruit knife tightly, prepared to strike first. Just then, a system prompt that made my scalp tingle appeared before my eyes. Detected that you are located at the junction of gloom. Forced mission initiated. The night demon hiding in the darkness has noticed you. Every decision you make will be a trial of life and death. Mission goal: prevent the night demon from ascending. Mission reward: random. Choose one of 3 godhood sequences. Failure results in forced erasure. Time limit: 4 a.m. Mission starts now. As I was pondering the mission details, suddenly a grim voice rang out from the back of the crowd. Everyone quiet down. A student holding a baseball bat stepped out from the middle of the crowd. I recognized him at a glance. It was the student council president, Su Pengju. He usually goes everywhere with a bunch of followers and looks down on students like us. Su Pengju stood half a step in front of me. How did you kill the monster? And how did you get out? You'd better tell me everything about what happened in your dorm. I raised an eyebrow and didn't answer his question. What's the situation here in the corridor? Why did so many people die? Tell me what happened here. Hearing this, Su Pengju's face darkened, but after glancing at the sturdy Zhang Yan beside me, he suppressed his anger and explained, "It's like this. Last night, some people couldn't sleep and went to check other rooms, only to find that everyone in several dorms was dead. Then everyone was alerted, but we found 3 dorms that couldn't be opened. There's no signal or network, and emergency calls won't go through. We're all trapped." Then at about 2 a.m., all the lights here suddenly went out. We couldn't see anything. The corridor was filled with screams. There were originally over 100 people on the 4th floor. When the lights came back on, fewer than 20 of us were left. That's when room 403 suddenly opened. Only Ma Tao came out alive. We wanted to ask him for details. He said there's a problem with the circuit, and monsters can travel through the circuit into every light bulb. Whenever they accumulate enough energy, the monsters enter the real world. The lights going out is the signal that the monsters have appeared. If we want to survive, we must destroy the power supply or the light bulbs. I fell for his lies. As soon as I pulled the breaker, screams rang out again immediately, although I flipped it back as fast as I could. When the lights came back on, 3 more students had died a tragic death. Hearing this, it was like a mist had been cleared. Many things I didn't understand before now became clear. I had been wondering why the monster didn't go to the main distribution box to destroy the power before acting. And Yu Tungwen in the dream, who clearly had a chance to turn off the lights at some point, didn't do so. It seems that because of the rules, monsters cannot directly interfere with the lights or power. They can only use deception to trick humans into doing these things. Now Su Pengju glared at us. Now that you two have come out, tell me exactly what happened inside your dorm. How did you kill the monster? If you don't cooperate, we'll assume you're monsters. Su Pengju's words resonated with the crowd. Those who were a bit hesitant due to Zhang Yan's presence became agitated at this moment. Feeling the sharp, threatening gazes from all around, I took a step forward. Don't be in such a hurry. Our goal is the same, which is to get out of here as soon as possible. I already have a way. But as for what to do, I need to confirm 2 things first. First, I want to know where Ma Tao is. Su Pengju tilted his chin toward a spot nearby. Over there. The people blocking our view naturally parted to both sides. I looked in the direction Su Pengju pointed, but the next second, everyone was stunned. Aside from a pool of blood, there was no sign of anyone. Su Pengju's expression changed drastically. He quickly ran over and asked everyone around him, "Where's Ma Tao?" A commotion broke out among the crowd. I don't know. He was just here a moment ago. Wasn't he killed? How could he suddenly disappear? Such a bizarre scene sent a chill down everyone's spine. I looked at the crowd and asked, is it possible that Ma Tao isn't actually dead? Did you see Ma Tao turn into a monster? Su Pengju was shocked. What do you mean? Just now in your dorm, there was the corpse of a decapitated monster. Does that mean the monster only dies if you cut off its head? I didn't answer. I just stared at Su Pengju's lackey, Li Chuang. How much is a cup of Palace Jade liquid wine? Li Chuang was stunned. What are you talking about? Nonsense. I spoke calmly. I'm giving you a chance. Answer me right now. Li Chuang's face darkened. Brother Peng, these 2 bastards are doing this on purpose. They have no intention of cooperating. Let's not waste our breath on them. I bet they're just like Ma Tao, turned into monsters. Let's get them. Li Chuang wanted to keep talking, but just then, I suddenly lunged, grabbed Li Chuang's head, and made a swift slash. Under the effect of my 9 strength points, Li Chuang's cervical spine was instantly severed. This horrifying scene scared everyone into stumbling back. Then they all raised their weapons, wanting to restrain me. I pointed to Li Chuang on the floor. Are you sure you want to attack me? Open your eyes and see who the monster really is. Everyone looked in the direction I was pointing. Li Chuang's body had unknowingly twisted and swollen, transforming into a hideous monster. Seeing this, Su Pengju couldn't help but tremble. Li Chuang was actually a monster? How is that possible? He was just with us a moment ago. How could he be a monster? Do all monsters come from humans? The crowd burst into a hubbub of discussion. My voice pulled everyone's thoughts back to reality. Monsters are hiding right among the people. These are the killing rules for day and night. When night falls, the monsters appear to kill. Only when day arrives, do humans have a chance to find and kill the monsters. The tightly packed crowd dispersed, everyone looking at each other with a hint of suspicion. Seeing this, I let out a cold laugh. I've already killed 2 monsters now. Currently, my credibility is the highest. Whoever targets me is more likely to be a monster. Furthermore, whoever dares to incite the crowd again, or stir up trouble, even if they're not a monster, they deserve to die. My gaze swept over everyone. Everyone I looked at avoided my gaze. Finally, my gaze fell on a burly fat guy. I remember your name is Wang Zhan, right? Although you and Li Chuang were in the same dorm, he bullied you often. Logically, you should hate him. So why were you protecting him so actively just now? Tell me, how much is a cup of Palace Jade liquid wine? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone immediately recalled the questions I asked before I killed Li Chuang. They all guessed what was happening and quickly moved away from Wang Zhan. Wang Zhan's face turned pale. You don't think I'm a monster too, do you? 180 for a cup. Hearing his answer, I asked again. Odd changes. Even stays the same. The sign depends on the quadrant. Who has the best excavator technology? Go to Lan Xiang in Shandong. 3 consecutive questions, and Wang Zhan answered them all correctly and quickly, but I still kept my eyes fixed on him. 2 seconds passed. I suddenly smiled. Come with me. After saying that, I strode toward one side of the corridor. Although Wang Zhan hesitated, he still followed obediently. After walking about 10 meters, I suddenly stopped and pointed to the circuit breaker embedded in the wall. Wang Zhan, go pull that switch down. As soon as those words were spoken, the others got anxious and began to speak out to stop him. I ignored everything happening around me and tilted my chin toward Wang Zhan. Pull the switch. Cold sweat dripped down Wang Zhan's face. You really can't pull the switch. If you do and the monsters appear, we'll all die. If you suspect me, you can keep asking me questions. I can definitely answer them all. Leaning against the wall, I reminded him, after you pull the switch down, just push it back up as fast as possible. As long as the light and dark cycle is fast enough, the monsters won't have time to kill anyone. Wang Zhan grit his teeth, his eyes bloodshot. All of this is just your speculation. In reality, you just want to kill people out of spite because everyone was targeting you earlier. If you really think I'm a monster, then just kill me. But I will absolutely not pull that switch. I cannot gamble with everyone's lives. Upon hearing this, everyone present was quite moved. Then Wang Zhan glanced around, and suddenly showed a look of determination. He grabbed for my wrist that was holding the knife. Come on, just kill me. If I die, I hope you won't take your anger out on the others. However, before Wang Zhan could touch me, I had already raised my leg and kicked him away. Wang Zhan was sent flying like a cannonball into the wall behind him. The smile on my face instantly turned cold. You'd rather fight for your life than pull the switch. In truth, it's not that you don't want to pull it, but that you can't pull it. Am I right? Hearing this, Wang Zhan begged piteously. He fell to his knees and crawled toward me with difficulty. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm really not a monster. I ignored his defense and stabbed downward. Wang Zhan's head was instantly separated from his body. Seeing Wang Zhan's corpse transform into a monster, everyone's expression froze. If the first time was a coincidence, then this time, I had identified a monster with the same precision. A glimmer of hope instantly rose in everyone. Maybe this person really could lead them out. I didn't care what the others thought. After having Zhang Yan stand next to me, I raised my hand and gave the crowd 2 orders. First, everyone back up at least 5 meters from me, but don't leave my sight. Second, turn on your phone's flashlight function. Those without a phone, find the person closest to you. Make it quick. I'll give you 10 seconds. Though the crowd was a bit dazed, seeing me give clear instructions made them feel as if they had a backbone. They all followed suit. With a click, I pulled the circuit breaker down. The corridor instantly fell into pitch darkness. With a hurried glance, I could already see that everyone still looked human. I immediately pushed the switch back up. The whole process took only about 1 second. When the dim lights illuminated the corridor again, everyone breathed a collective sigh of relief. The suspicion in their eyes as they looked at each other lessened. Just then, a faint sound of a door opening rang out. I looked toward the sound and saw a person in pajamas, walking out of room 418. After this pajama-clad man entered the corridor, his head darted back and forth, and he immediately sprinted in the opposite direction of the crowd. Someone quick-witted immediately reacted. That person is trying to escape. He must be a monster. A cold light flashed in my eyes. In my mind, a sentence from the system mission instantly appeared. The night demon has noticed you. In the blink of an eye, the man in pajamas reached the fire door, about to disappear into the stairwell. Suddenly, a whistling sound rang out, and a fruit knife accurately pierced the man's back. The massive impact sent him sprawling to the ground. But even so, the man in pajamas still struggled to crawl forward. Seeing this, I shouted to Zhang Yan. Almost the moment my words left my mouth, Zhang Yan was like an arrow released from a bow, sweeping past me. Just as the man in pajamas pushed the fire door open to flee, Zhang Yan finally arrived, and dragged him back by force. With only half an arm left, he still gripped the edge of the fire door tightly. As I strode over, I saw a thick palm reach out from behind the fire door. It was covered in a layer of dark, rotting skin, and it lunged for Zhang Yan's head. Seeing this, my pupils dilated. Careful! Fortunately, thanks to my warning, Zhang Yan instinctively leaned back and dodged the grab. I pulled him to my side, and looked through the half-open fire door. In the dark part of the stairwell, where the light didn't reach, 2 towering monsters stood. One was covered in dark, rotting skin, its eyes blood-red, as if they were about to drip blood. The other monster wore thin pajamas, now stretched tight, and emitted heavy breaths. The 2 monsters were distinctly different. The one in pajamas seemed to be similar to Ma Tao, with its body only partially transformed, but the one with dark, rotting skin appeared to be relatively complete, especially its eyes could clearly see us. I was secretly alarmed. Does it mean that the more people they eat, the stronger the monsters become? Just then, the others who had followed us were all terrified by the 2 monsters in the stairwell. They quickly scrambled backward. I gave a low shout, "Flashlights!" Then, together with Zhang Yan, I turned on my light and shone it into the stairwell. However, those two monsters remained indifferent, still staring coldly at the crowd outside. It wasn't until several people mustered their courage and joined in with their flashlights that the two monsters simultaneously retreated down the steps. Seeing this, Su Pengju's face lit up with joy. Everyone, gather around. We'll head downstairs together with our lights on. The monsters won't dare to come near us. Hearing this, the crowd grew excited, all of them looking at me with expectant eyes, waiting for me to take the first step. Witnessing this shameless scene, I laughed. Why don't you guys go down first? Su Pengju's tone was matter-of-fact. You're the strongest one here. Naturally, you should be the one leading the way. You can't expect us ordinary people to go first, right? If there's any danger, we wouldn't even have a chance to resist. Taking in everyone's expressions, I sneered. Are you guys misunderstanding something? I only said I had a way to leave this place. I never said I was taking you with me. As soon as those words came out, everyone's face changed drastically and panic began to set in. Before this, they were radical, desperate, and on the verge of breakdown. It was because I had shown strength beyond that of an ordinary person by killing monsters back to back that they were given a glimmer of hope. But now, I was actually saying I wouldn't take them with me. This caused their newly found hope to shatter instantly. Tall, thin man even knelt down toward me. Don't. Please don't abandon us. Take us with you. We'll all listen to you. I gave the crowd a cool glance. If you want to leave here with me, then you must follow my orders. Within 2 minutes, everyone, find as many phones as you can, then gather in room 412. Of course, if you're not afraid of death, you can also choose to follow Su Pengju downstairs right now. Leaving those words behind, I pulled Zhang Yan back into room 412. As soon as we entered, I pulled out a pack of mineral water from my closet and found a carton of milk on the desk. Then, I unscrewed the water bottles and poured a small amount of milk into each one, shaking them gently to mix them evenly. While I was making them, students began running in with phones. Su Pengju grew impatient. What are you doing with all that mineral water? Aren't you just wasting everyone's time? I didn't even look up. We need a brighter light. Saying that, I fixed the collected phones onto mop handles and tied the milk water bottles in front of the flashlights. Using the principle of light reflection, the light became much brighter, far exceeding the brightness of a single flashlight. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared at this scene. So this is the brighter light. It really is much stronger than just a phone's flashlight. Seeing this, Su Pengju was pleasantly surprised. If we make a few more of these long-handled daylight lamps, and each of us holds one, we can definitely head downstairs safely. I'll have people look for more phones right now. I stood up and interrupted him. No, there's no time. Night and day rotate every half hour. In less than 5 minutes, it'll be 3 a.m. and night will fall again. Upon hearing my words, everyone crowded out of room 412, rushing toward the nearest fire stairwell, fearing they'd lose their lives if they were a step too slow. But once they reached the fire door, everyone stopped in unison and looked at me at the back with expectant eyes. Su Pengju's eyes darted around. Lin Che, the phones were collected by everyone together, but you're the only one using the 2 long-handled daylight lamps. This seems a bit unfair, doesn't it? How about this? You and Zhang Yan use one, and the rest of us share the other. What do you think? Of course, this is just a suggestion for the good of everyone. If you don't agree, then just pretend I didn't say anything. I knew he was trying to use moral kidnapping on me, but I still handed over the long-handled lamp. What you said makes sense. I'll let you have this one for now. Su Pengju couldn't help but smirk, feeling smug, but his joy didn't last long. My next words, which followed immediately, made his eyelids twitch. Since you have the life-saving tool now, why don't you head down and scout the way? If you're unwilling to scout, then to prevent you from stabbing me in the back, I'll have to knock you out and leave you here. Su Pengju's face instantly turned ashen. Don't knock me out. I'll scout the way. I'm going down now. Then, he hurriedly raised the daylight lamp and entered the fire stairwell. On the landing between the 4th and 3rd floors, the 2 terrifying monsters were still standing there. Su Pengju grit his teeth and took 1 step down. The monsters didn't move. The 2nd step down and they still didn't move. It wasn't until the 4th step that the 2 monsters began to move back and retreated downstairs. Seeing this, Su Pengju breathed a sigh of relief, feeling like he was about to collapse. But I narrowed my eyes slightly. The monster with the dark, rotting skin retreated first, followed by the one in pajamas. There was a distinct order to their actions, yet there was clearly no verbal communication between them. Could the monsters share information? And there was another point that needed to be confirmed. Were these 2 monsters truly being driven back by the light, or were they intentionally luring us deeper? With that thought, I pointed to the 4 people behind me. You 4, go down too. The 4 of them looked at each other and dejectedly followed him down. As Su Pengju and the others reached the landing, I could no longer see the two monsters from my angle. If the monsters were faking their retreat, they could have easily leaped back and started a massacre. At this point, I was 70% sure that the monsters were indeed being driven back by the light. Thinking of this, I pulled Zhang Yan into the stairwell and whispered something into his ear. Then I gave orders to the remaining 5 people. All of you, stand up and give me maximum light. The 5 of them nodded and entered the fire stairwell. At the same time, to the shock of Su Pengju and the others, Zhang Yan, holding the long-handled lamp, assumed a standard throwing posture. Then he aimed at the 2 monsters below and threw it with force. Almost instantly, the monster with dark, rotting skin jumped down and away. But the other pajama-wearing monster was a split-second slow. When the bright beam of light hit it, a bizarre scene occurred. The pajama monster actually turned into an afterimage and shot back up the stairs. I suddenly turned my head and saw a young man in pajamas appear out of thin air in the corridor outside the fire door. Seeing this, I immediately lunged forward and pulled out my fruit knife. I brought the blade down, plunging it into the back of his neck. After killing the pajama monster, I didn't delay any further. I signaled the remaining 5 people. Get downstairs now. Then I charged down, seeing Su Pengju and the others standing there in a daze. Without a word, I reached out and snatched back the long-handled daylight lamp. Everyone keep up. Don't fall behind. Just like that, we reached the first-floor lobby. What greeted us were more than 10 mangled corpses, but I only gave them a quick glance before heading straight for the dorm manager's room nearby. Unlike the regular student dorms, the dorm manager's room had an outer hollow iron gate in addition to the wooden door. This iron gate was precisely my ultimate goal in coming here. I strode into the dorm manager's room, went to the bunk bed in the corner, and began to drag the bed frame. Everyone, come here. Help me drag the beds to the door. Everyone began to act obediently. Suddenly, someone roared in anger. Su Pengju, what are you doing? Everyone looked toward the noise. Su Pengju had somehow stolen the dorm manager's keys, closed the iron gate, and locked everyone inside. You fools can just stay here and wait for death. Everyone started cursing him out, but Su Pengju had already vanished. With the keys, I shouted coldly, ignore the chaos. First, help me block the door. We don't have much time left. By this time, Su Pengju had reached the main entrance, but he found that no matter how he turned the key, he couldn't open the door. As Su Pengju broke into a nervous sweat, there was a sudden snap. The key had broken inside the lock. The next second, without any warning, all the light instantly vanished. Night had fallen. I then heard Su Pengju running to the dorm manager's room, screaming frantically. He banged on the door. Open up! Open up! You guys inside! Open the door quickly. I know I was wrong. Lin Che, save me one more time. Hearing his piteous pleas for help, someone inside said tentatively, maybe we should open the door and let him in. The monsters aren't here yet anyway. Before I could speak, someone else spoke up in refusal. It was the bespectacled Su Jiao, who had knelt to me earlier. No. It's night now. It's extremely dangerous outside. We can't see anything. If we open the door, we'll have nowhere to run. Someone immediately echoed him. That's right. Besides, Su Pengju was planning to lock us in here to die. Why should we care about someone with such a malicious heart? As the few of them continued to argue, I suddenly interrupted them coldly. Shut up. Didn't you notice Su Pengju has gone silent? The monsters are already here. The reason they haven't attacked yet is likely because they're waiting for us to open the door. Before I could even finish speaking, blood-curdling screams came from outside the door. It hurts. My leg feels broken. Help me. Hearing those piercing screams and the sounds of chewing and swallowing, everyone's heart raced with terror. My heart sank. This monster was truly sinister. It had deliberately hidden outside without killing. Su Pengju, just waiting for us to let him in. After realizing the people inside wouldn't open the door, it then chose to kill him. Noticing the chewing sounds had stopped, I immediately warned everyone, get ready. It's coming. Almost as soon as I finished speaking, a massive force suddenly struck the door. The impact made my palms go slightly numb. The group pushed against the iron bunk bed, pressing it firmly against the iron gate. Hearing the low grunts of pain from those around me, I quickly spoke up to boost morale. Hold on, everyone. The monster's goal is to eat people. If we just hold on, the monster won't waste its time here. It'll definitely go elsewhere to find targets. As long as we hold out until daylight, I'll find a way to get us all out. Perhaps my words had an encouraging effect, as everyone gave it their all. The iron gate wasn't forced open again. I kept an eye on the time on the system screen. Every second was an absolute torment. Suddenly, the banging outside stopped. Everything fell into a deathly silence in the night. The monster seemed to have truly left. Seeing the others relax, I reminded them, don't let your guard down. In 15 minutes, the night will end. The atmosphere in the room gradually lightened quite a bit. Several people started whispering. I frowned. feeling that something wasn't quite right. As time passed, the unease in my heart grew stronger. A terrifying thought surfaced in my mind. My voice suddenly rose. Everyone, count off starting with me. 10 numbers were called out in succession. A brief silence followed. Suddenly, a slightly confused voice rang out. Why are there only 10 people? There were clearly 11 of us here. Though the others didn't know what was happening, they all realized something was wrong. The atmosphere instantly became heavy again. Then, Sujio's nervous voice sounded. I didn't hear Shoho's voice. Shoho, where are you? Why didn't you count off? Suddenly, a strange, raspy voice came. I'm right here. I'm so tired. As Shoho spoke, he was also emitting a low, beast-like growl. In this pitch-black environment where you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, an indescribable sense of dread haunted everyone's heart. Before this, I was always curious how the others were being parasitized by the monsters. Now, there's no need to be curious anymore, because Shoho was undergoing this process. I let out a cold huff. A complete parasitization. Shoho was being parasitized by a monster. I then took out the fruit knife tucked at my waist and lunged toward the source of the breathing. However, it didn't feel like the blade was piercing flesh as I'd imagined. Instead, it felt like stabbing old tree bark. The tip of the knife, which was already broken, was now even harder to insert. I was unwilling to give up just like that and wanted to keep trying, when suddenly, a wave of immense dread washed over my body. My brain even began to feel muddled. It seemed Shoho had been completely replaced by the monster. As that thought arose, I quickly retreated, until I had put some distance between us. Only then did I feel the sense of dread dissipate slightly. At that moment, someone asked in a panic what was going on, how Shoho could have been parasitized, and if we should stop blocking the door. But before he could finish his sentence, accompanied by a low growl, Shoho let out a blood-curdling scream. A heavy smell of blood instantly permeated the entire room. Everyone fell into a panic, making sounds of things being knocked over. Some even wanted to open the door and flee. I quickly lowered my voice and ordered everyone to shut up. Don't make a sound. A monster that has just finished parasitizing can't see. It can only rely on sound to find people. Just then, the chewing sound stopped. My heart skipped a beat and I instinctively ducked and moved to a different spot. Immediately afterwards, I heard a loud crash from where I'd just been. The hair on my body stood on end. I'd only changed positions out of caution. I hadn't expected it to actually save my life. It seemed I had been targeted by the wild demon, even becoming a primary target for execution. By now, the others had lost their reason. The monster is inside. What are we still doing here? Let's escape together. Don't listen to Lin Che anymore. He's just trying to get us killed. I then heard someone start moving the iron bunk beds. A harsh creaking sound reaching my ears. I turned a deaf ear to it. I had already done my duty by warning them earlier, but some were simply rushing to their deaths. Cries of pain rang out one after another in the room, and sounds of biting and swallowing rose and fell. As the last second of 3:29 a.m. ticked by, a blinding light suddenly burst forth, driving away all the darkness. Just as I was adjusting to the blinding light, the sound of glass breaking suddenly rang out. I saw Shoho holding a broken beer bottle, striding toward me. Shoho used to be as thin as a bamboo pole, but now his entire body was taut with muscle, and his speed was significantly faster as blood rushed through him. In the blink of an eye, he had circled to my side. Seeing the beer bottle about to smash into my head, I quickly leaned aside to avoid it. At the same time, I gripped the fruit knife in my right hand and stabbed it hard into Shoho's abdomen. But Shoho didn't just easily dodge my attack. He also sliced a gash into my face. In an instant, I remembered the extraordinary skills given by the system. When I first killed a monster, the description of the Berserk option mentioned that activating this state could increase strength and agility attributes by 50%. This guy must have activated Berserk. Knowing my agility was inferior to his, I simply raised my left hand to grab him. In an instant, my palm was pierced by the sharp glass shards. Simultaneously, I thrust the knife in my right hand forward, straight into his abdomen. Zhang Yan rushed behind Shoho, reaching out to grab his hair, leaving Shoho's throat completely exposed. I seized the opportunity and thrust my knife straight through, instantly severing Shoho's head. The system notification rang out at that moment. You have killed a Spectre doppelganger. Current spirituality is 10, exchangeable. After confirming the kill, I scanned the crowd with my gaze, and found that, after surviving this half hour of darkness, only 6 people remained. I waved them off. Stay sharp. Now is not the time to rest. Everyone, hurry up and gather all our homemade lights. We're getting out of here. Then, enduring the pain, I pulled out the larger glass shards from my palm and tore a strip of cloth to wrap it up. The others watched, their eyelids twitching. Sujio also looked at me with concern. Should we find a first aid kit first? Disinfect it and then bandage it up. Otherwise, It'll be bad if it gets infected. I shook my head. There was no time to deal with it. Perhaps because my constitution attribute had increased significantly, I felt the pain, but it wasn't as unbearable as I'd imagined. Seeing that everyone was ready, Zhang Yan was holding two long-handled homemade fluorescent lights wrapped inside, the phone acting as the light source still had plenty of battery. Suddenly, a thought occurred to me. I remembered that to get on the dorm manager's good side, I once gave him a multifunctional bright flashlight. It's a common item, so it should be kept in a relatively handy place. With that in mind, I searched the surroundings, and soon found the flashlight on the corner windowsill. I did a quick check on the flashlight, and found that all its functions were in good condition. Seeing it still had 2 bars of battery, I couldn't help but sigh with relief. With this thing, our safety margin would significantly increase. Su Zhio asked tentatively, "What should we do next? The main exit has been sealed off by some unknown force. How exactly are we going to leave this place?" At his words, I turned to look at the window. There's only one way to leave here, and that's to climb to the roof and jump off. As soon as I said that, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Su Zhio couldn't believe his ears. "This dormitory building has 11 floors. Isn't jumping off suicide? Are you sure this is really the way out?" I waved my hand. "I've fulfilled my promise by telling you the way to leave. I've also demonstrated how to make the lights for you. Whether you want to believe it or not is your decision. I have other things to do now. Let's part ways here." Zhang Yan was only slightly stunned for a moment before his expression returned to normal while the others began to get nervous. I ignored everyone's reaction. While speaking, I had exchanged another attribute point. Increasing my strength was the most important thing now. These were the tools for survival. Considering my earlier encounter with the Berserk Shouho, I put this single attribute point into agility. You used 1 attribute point. Your agility has increased by 1. Current agility, 6. As a series of system notifications flashed by, a refreshing sensation swept through my body and my muscles became even more defined. Although the change was subtle, everyone was already on edge, so they naturally noticed something unusual. Su Zhio's eyes flickered. "I believe Lin Che, because the crisis we're facing now cannot be understood through common sense at all. One wrong step could lead to death." Su Zhio stared straight at me. "In short, I'll believe whatever you say, but from now on, I hope you'll let me follow and act with you. Don't worry, I definitely won't cause any trouble." Hearing this, the others also expressed their loyalty. "Let me follow you too. I don't mind even if you ask me to scout the way." "Me too. After all, with so many of us, we can always lend a hand." Seeing that everyone was strongly expressing their desire to follow, I nodded slightly. "We've all shared life and death just now. Since you trust me so much, I won't let you down. But let's get one thing clear. In this life or death situation, everything from now on will revolve around me. You must follow any of my instructions unconditionally. Otherwise, don't blame me if I turn hostile." After hearing my words, everyone agreed in unison, for fear that I might regret it. I checked the time. 3 minutes had passed. I immediately led everyone out of the dorm manager's room. As we walked, I told everyone the plan. "I'm looking for a woman named Chu Ting, but I'm not sure exactly where she is. So, when we enter a new floor, we need to shout Chu Ting's name first, and then check for survivors. To prevent any monsters from being disguised among the survivors, we'll also conduct a light-off test before entering the hallway. In short, our main goals are 3 things. First, find Chu Ting. Second, search for survivors. Third, kill the monsters. Does anyone have any questions?" Everyone nodded to show they understood. At this point, Su Zhio gave me a hesitant look. "Lin Che, you probably need a weapon, right? I remember on the first floor, there's a sword enthusiast named Li Chao. His dorm should have several sharpened swords." My eyes immediately lit up upon hearing that. "Which dorm is he in?" Su Zhio lowered his head and thought for a moment before looking back at me. "Dorm 115. I'll take you there now." I nodded, then turned to the others. "Proceed according to the plan I just mentioned. Su Zhio, Zhang Yan, and I will scout the first floor first. Yang Huanqing, He Ruhai, and Chan Inghao, the 3 of you make another long-handled fluorescent light." After saying that, I waved my hand, arranging for Zhang Yan to head out and scout the dorms to the left, while Su Zhio and I headed to the right. The 2 of us walked quickly along the way, but found no survivors. All the doors along the way were open, and bloody scenes could be seen inside at a glance. However, just to be safe, I still shouted Chu Ting's name, hoping she would appear if she heard me. Soon, we arrived at the door of dorm 115. Inside this 4-person dorm, 3 corpses were sprawled out. Su Zhio looked around, walked straight to the innermost wardrobe, and took out 3 cold weapons to hand to me. A Tang transverse sword, a Shochuan saber, and a 2-meter-long 8-sided Han sword came into view. I was originally going to choose either the Tang sword or the Shochuan saber, but once I took the swords from Su Jiao, my mind immediately changed. Although all 3 swords were sharpened, the Tang sword and Shochuan saber were too light, but this 8-sided Han sword felt very heavy. It weighed about 10 pounds. I gave it a sudden swing, and the wardrobe door was sliced into 2 pieces. I handed the Shochuan saber to Su Jiao, and kept the Tang sword for Zhang Yan. You take this Shochuan saber for self-defense. To my surprise, Su Jiao pushed it back. Give it to Chen Yinghao. He's much sturdier than I am. It's more suitable for him. Seeing Su Jiao's hesitant look, I couldn't help but narrow my eyes. You deliberately called me out. If you have something to say it directly. After hearing my words, Su Jiao's face flushed red. I know you actually don't want to act alone. After all, you'll be safer with us. But I hope you don't treat me as if I have the same temperament as Chen Yinghao and the others. After all, my brain can be of help to you, just like earlier when under my guidance. The others voluntarily followed you, and if we encounter danger later, I have ways to make them take the lead as a rearguard. Having said that, Su Jiao adjusted his glasses, waiting expectantly for my reply. I sensed his true intention. He put it so grandiosely, but in reality, he was just worried that jumping from the roof was a lie, which is why he insisted on following me. I didn't expose him either. 2 minutes are up. As for your stamina, let's talk about it after we get out alive. Su Jiao's face flushed at this, and he wanted to say more, when Zhang Yan's voice suddenly rang out from outside. All right, stop your whining. I'll take responsibility for you, as long as you don't cause any trouble. Lin Che definitely won't screw you over. As he spoke, Zhang Yan walked in. Seeing the swords in my hand, his eyes lit up. Whoa, so much good equipment. Give me this sword. Saying that, Zhang Yan took the Tang sword and performed a flourish, his face full of joy. I turned to Su Jiao with a smirk. As you can see, Zhang Yan is the boss. You've been following the wrong person. After saying that, I pulled Zhang Yan and we walked out. After meeting up with the 3 who were making the fluorescent lights, I led them to the 3rd floor to search. As soon as we reached the 3rd floor, I faintly heard a sound coming from the dorm at the very end. Ma Tao, are you really okay with your head bleeding so much? Maybe we should call 120 for you first. I then heard someone reply, oh, I've told you, it's fine, though my head hurts a bit. Turn off the lights first. Hearing this, I narrowed my eyes. Ma Tao was the monster that had escaped on the 4th floor earlier. I didn't expect him to actually come here, so I arranged for Zhang Yan and the others to explore elsewhere, while I rushed to the last dorm and kicked open the door. The people inside were startled by the noise and ran toward the corner. Seeing me, Ma Tao stopped hiding, waving his arms as he lunged toward me. At this, I took half a step back and performed a horizontal slash with the sword in one hand. The 10-pound King Kong long sword was light as a feather in my hand. In an instant, Ma Tao's head flew high. I cut off his head in less than 5 seconds. The Ma Tao on the ground also transformed into a monster. You've killed a specter doppelganger. Current spirituality, 21. Exchangeable. I directly increased my agility to 8 points. Just then, from beside me, a terrified voice suddenly came. How could you kill someone? I turned my head to look, only to see that the 4 survivors were so scared by the scene, they could barely stand. Just to be safe, I turned off the lights and tried the test. Fortunately, the 4 inside still looked like humans. Seeing this, I turned around and walked quickly away. I don't have time to explain to you. There's danger in the dorm. Follow me if you want to live. As soon as I finished speaking, those 4 people immediately chased after me with strange cries. Outside the door, I met up with Zhang Yan. He excitedly told me that he had just killed a monster on his own. I was somewhat surprised. Did you feel anything? Zhang Yan grinned exaggeratedly. My whole body's aching, but it really feels good. I feel like all my muscles are taut with blood. I was stunned for a moment. No other feeling? Like, were there any sounds? Or did anything strange appear in your vision? Zhang Yan stretched his body. No, I just feel like my strength has increased a bit. Could killing monsters increase physical quality? This is just too cool. I was a bit disappointed to hear that. It seemed Zhang Yan failed to awaken any talent. After resting for a while, I led everyone and ran upstairs. With more people, searching also became much more convenient, but we'd already gone through more than half the floors and there was still no sign of Chu Ting. However, I didn't get too discouraged. After all, my strength was constantly increasing. If I still couldn't find Chu Ting in the end, I would just break into dorm 1104 by myself. I'll just do my best and leave the rest to fate. On the way to the 7th floor, I suddenly stopped. Stop talking. There's a situation. Everyone behind me fell silent. I shook my flashlight and looked up, only to see several massive figures looking down at our group. Seeing this, I waved at the others. Attack! I then took a large stride up the stairs and soon arrived at the 7th floor. All the lights were out here. Under the light of the bright flashlight, I saw the hallway was covered with severed limbs. Couldn't help but frown. The people in here should all be dead by now. Shout out and see if Chu Ting is there. Following my command, everyone shouted several times toward the hallway of the 7th floor, but there was still no response. Next, I led them to the 8th floor. After pulling open the fire door of the 8th floor, everyone was stunned on the spot. Behind the fire door, 2 layers of iron bed frames were actually stuck there. Through the gaps between the frames, heavy objects such as wooden boards could be seen blocking the way behind them. Zhang Yan tried to step forward and push, but it didn't budge at all. Immediately afterward, a commotion came from inside the fire door. Quick, hold on. More specters are trying to come in. Don't panic. It's daytime now. If a specter shows up, we'll kill it together. Hearing this, I narrowed my eyes slightly and stepped forward, delivering a kick. A dent immediately appeared on the iron bed frame. I went forward and tore an opening, then slipped inside. Entering the hallway of the 8th floor, I saw over 20 people on high alert. The crew-cut young man leading them looked at me with a look of wariness. Everyone, don't crowd together. Those with weapons, stand in the front. Let's finish this quickly and kill this specter. At his command, several people holding steel pipes immediately stood out. Simultaneously, Su Jiao and the others also squeezed through the gap. Don't be impulsive, everyone. We aren't monsters. Su Jiao put a hand on my shoulder, gasping for breath. Zhang Tong, don't misunderstand. We all came up with Lin Che. Don't fight among ourselves. Zhang Tong sneered upon hearing this. Who's Lin Che? I don't know him. This hallway is full of monsters. How could you possibly have come up? Unless it was that woman. Hearing this, I arrived at Zhang Tong's side with a single stride, then rested the sword on his shoulder. Who is that woman? Did so many of you survive because of her? Seeing this, Zhang Tong immediately raised his hands. Junior, don't be impulsive. It's all a misunderstanding. I tilted my wrist slightly, the blade easily cutting a bloody gash in his neck. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you now. You just need to tell me what her name is. Zhang Tong didn't dare move at all. Her name is Chu Ting. The moment I heard Chu Ting's name, I felt like a major concern in my heart had finally been settled. I slowly lowered the sword. Do you know where Chu Ting is? Sensing the coldness in my eyes, Zhang Tong didn't dare hide anything anymore. I don't know, but she said she was going to find some node and told us to wait for her here. I don't know anything else. 2 words flashed through my mind at this. First, node. It seemed Chu Ting must know something. I then scanned these survivors on the 8th floor. About 40 of them. It seemed all of this was Chu Ting's doing. At this point, Zhang Tong boldly tried to probe. Brother, you're Lin Che, right? We're all human. There's no need to be so confrontational. Chu Ting said before she left. As long as we stay by the fire door and don't enter the dorms, we won't be parasitized by specters. She'll come back and save us. So, you don't need to keep taking risks. You might as well stay here and wait for Sister Ting to return. As he spoke, Zhang Tong pulled a piece of black jade from his pocket and handed it to me. Sister Ting gave this to me. The energy field it emits is enough to protect all of us for a short time. I took it and rubbed it in my hand. Felt ice cold and smooth. Besides the character for hand on the front, the back was engraved with densely packed small characters. Number 09527. It was actually man-made. After returning the black jade to Zhang Tong, I patted him on the shoulder. We are going to find Chu Ting now. You can choose to stay here and hide, or you can come with me. Hearing this, Zhang Tong shook his head repeatedly. Nightfall is only 10 minutes away. Why don't you stay here for a while? Maybe by the next daylight, Sister Ting will have come back on her own. I didn't try to persuade him further. After all, my purpose for searching for survivors wasn't that noble. It was only to give the monsters someone else to eat, thereby slowing down their evolution speed. These people shouldn't be in danger for a short while. As for what happens after 4 a.m., I can't worry about that anymore. However, my indifferent attitude made Zhang Tong start to hesitate. At this moment, Su Jiao suddenly spoke up. We fought our way here from the bottom floor. We should be able to find Chu Ting very soon. And Lin Che, he has already killed over a dozen monsters. He even knows the way out. Hearing this, Zhang Tong turned pale with shock. What? You've already killed that many specter clones? And you actually know a way out that even Sister Ting isn't sure about? At this point, Zhang Tong looked at me with determination. Waiting for others to save us is worse than saving ourselves. I'll go with you. However, hearing that Zhang Tong planned to follow me, the others on the 8th floor immediately became restless. Zhang Tong, if you're leaving, leave the black jade behind. Yeah, if you want to leave, leave by yourself. Don't drag us down with you. Hearing these words, Zhang Tong suddenly laughed aloud. First of all, Sister Ting found me first. It was I who secretly brought her into the dorm at night, which is why you're all still alive and well now. Secondly, this black jade was also given to me by Sister Ting. Out of gratitude for my help, she only lent it to me. It has nothing to do with you. Got it. Seeing that the people on the 8th floor still looked resentful, I waved my hand. Jiang Tong, no need to waste words with them. Let's go. Zhang Yan, Chun Yinghao, you two take the rear. Ignore those willing to follow us. But if anyone tries to start trouble, kill them immediately. I made no attempt to hide the murderous intent in my voice. Combined with my current appearance, I looked more terrifying than a killer in a movie. Seeing this, the crowd on the 8th floor didn't dare say anything else. They could only watch as Jiang Tong left with me. Zhang Yan and Chun Yinghao followed the order, holding their weapons and blocking the hallway. Seeing that the crowd didn't make a move, they then retreated and headed up the stairs. Once I reached the 9th floor, my expression immediately turned serious, because most of the dormitory doors I could see were completely intact. There were only two possibilities. The students were deluded by monsters and opened the doors themselves, or the monsters finished eating everyone inside and then opened the doors. It seemed that from the 8th floor up, the higher we went, the more people were parasitized. Seeing the situation in the building, Jiang Tong stopped me. I remember Sister Ting saying that parasitization doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process, because the more people the specter eats, the more energy it harvests. Once the main body gets enough energy feedback, it can peel off even more clones to parasitize more humans. Hearing this, my heart stirred. This energy might just be spirituality, but I didn't dwell on it too much. After noticing that Zhang Yan and Chun Yinghao had already caught up, I immediately waved to everyone. Let's keep going. Suddenly, the lights on the ceiling went out, plunging the entire building into darkness, except for the crowd by the fire door below, where there was still some light. I couldn't help but grip my sword hilt tightly. Everyone, be careful. The main switch on the 1st floor might have been turned off. Don't panic. We'll continue as planned. Hold your light steady and don't stray. However, before I could finish my sentence, the sound of a door being opened came from the distance. Immediately afterward, a monster with dark green, rotting skin leaped toward us. I quickly raised my bright flashlight to shine it on the creature. In an instant, the monster turned into an afterimage and vanished into a blind spot of our vision. Everyone was stunned by this terrifying scene. Jiang Tong swallowed hard. What should we do next? Are we really going to keep searching? I patted him comfortingly on the shoulder. The arrow is on the string. We have no choice but to fire. Chu Ting might be in one of these rooms. We've come this far. There's no turning back now. As I spoke, I glanced at the time. It was already 3:50 a.m. I immediately made arrangements for the group. Chun Yinghao and Zhang Yan, take 3 people and search the left side. Those with blades in the front. Those with lights in the back. He Ruhai and Yang Huanqing, you two follow me to the right. Make sure to carry the long-handled fluorescent lamps. Su Jiao, you and the rest here. Be ready to support us with light if anything happens. After saying that, I followed my flashlight's beam and chased after where the monster had fled. At that moment, Jiang Tong's shout stopped me. Lin Che, wait, I'll go with you too. I nodded. After leading the 3 of them into the right corridor, I saw another monster rush out from dormitory 903 nearby, snarled, wanting to pounce. But under the light, it turned back into an afterimage and retreated into the room. This repeated several times, and the monster became extremely furious. Seeing this, I slowed down my pace. I didn't rush in blindly. Instead, during the intervals, I used the light to scan the nearby dorms to check if there were any monsters hiding in ambush. After all, I didn't want to be attacked from behind. Jiang Tong followed closely by my side. What's going on? This is too crazy. Maybe we should head back. This is too dangerous. Jiang Tong still wanted to persuade me, but I had already taken advantage of the gap when the monster retreated to stride forward. Jiang Tong and I arrived at the door of room 903. Under the beam of the flashlight, the opponent could no longer maintain its monster form. It froze into the shape of a pale student. Upon seeing us, he snarled and lunged to bite. Then, with a flash of cold light, I directly cut the monster into 2 pieces. Jiang Tong stepped forward incredulously. Holy crap! Are you really this fierce? I flicked the blood drops off my sword. Jiang Tong, you hold the light and follow behind me. He Ruhai, Yang Huanqing, go check if any monsters slipped through the net, but don't get too far from me. While speaking, I converted the 20 points of spirituality gained from the kill into 2 attribute points. System, add 1 point each to my agility and strength. However, the system's prompt made me frown. Your agility and strength attributes have both reached the cap. Unable to increase further. Breaking the attribute cap requires a reward for increasing personal level. I thought for a moment, and finally added the attribute points to my spirit. In an instant, I felt my brain become crystal clear, and my entire thought process became much sharper. After organizing ourselves, I led Jiang Tong to continue searching ahead. Currently, most of the dormitory doors were intact, and there were only 3 corpses inside each. Clearly, these were rooms where someone had been parasitized. Soon, we reached the last dormitory. The door here was also intact, half open just like most of the other doors. Just as I was about to push the door open, suddenly, a cold female voice rang out in my mind. "Careful, there's an ambush." Hearing this, I quickly pulled Jiang Tong and retreated quickly. At that very moment, the half-open door was violently smashed from the inside. The entire door shattered with a bang, and a massive figure with dark green, rotting skin charged toward us. If I hadn't retreated in advance, this monster would have slammed right into my face. Seeing that the opponent had already gone berserk, I directly swung my sword and killed it instantly. However, I couldn't relax yet, because within my field of vision, inside that room, 5 more monsters in werewolf form were huddled together. As the first monster fell, the 5 inside also, all charged at us fiercely. Under the light, they changed back into human form, and surrounded Jiang Tong and me. Seeing this, I was secretly alarmed. Damn it, the first monster that rushed out was actually a bait. I immediately realized that our current situation was extremely bad. Of these 5 monsters, 2 were on the left, 2 were on the right, and 1 was directly behind us. Furthermore, the monster in the rear was almost pressed against Jiang Tong's back. Jiang Tong is in danger. Only a second passed while these thoughts raced through my head. The sharp thinking provided by 10 points of spirit attribute gave me an almost instinctive reaction. I charged directly toward the right. Then, with a flash of cold light, the human form monster's head had already hit the ground. "You have slain a specter clone. Your spirituality has increased by 20. Current spirituality, 40. Suddenly, I felt an intense sense of fear coming from behind me, so I turned directly and swung my sword. With a loud clang, the 8-sided Han sword met a giant palm. The impact made my palm go numb. Immediately afterward, the monster's other claw followed. I barely managed to lean aside to dodge the fatal blow, but my chest was scratched and wounded. Enduring the immense pain in my chest, I delivered a horizontal slash before the opponent could go berserk, finally beheading this monster. I then quickly turned to look back. I saw a burly young man who had already gone berserk, snarling while choking Jiang Tong's neck with both hands. Jiang Tong's face was flushed deep red, but the long-handled fluorescent lamp in his hand still hadn't been dropped. The 2 monsters slightly further away on the left had initially been entangled by He Ruhai and the other who had rushed over, but after they went berserk, He Ruhai and Yang Huanqing were simply no match for them. They didn't even last 5 seconds before both lost their fighting capability. Not only were their heads pummeled, but a piece of He Ruhai's ear was even bitten off, and those 2 monsters, after being freed from the fluorescent light, turned back into their dark green, rotting werewolf forms, and charged straight at me. Seeing this, I quickly turned on my bright flashlight and aimed it at them. Only then did the 2 monsters turn back into human form. I steadied my mind, lifted my sword, and moved to kill the burly young man choking Jiang Tong. But the injury on my chest made the speed of the strike noticeably slower. It only managed to split a large gash in the opponent's head. The burly young man was instantly enraged. He went berserk and charged straight at me. I endured the pain and delivered 2 quick slashes. Only with the second strike did I decapitate him. "You have slain a specter clone. Current spirituality, 80. Ready for conversion." At the same time, the last 2 monsters took advantage of the gap when they weren't lit up to attack me simultaneously. However, I had already noticed them. I immediately switched the flashlight to wide-angle beam, illuminating both as they turned back into humans again. These 2 monsters snarled madly, charging in their berserk human states, perhaps due to the heavy blood loss. I felt a bit dizzy at this moment. My movements and reactions had slowed significantly, so I quickly summoned the system. Go all in with my spirituality on. Mixed martial arts. With a series of system prompts appearing, my combat skill has upgraded to level 4 expert. I immediately noticed that the skill level upgrade cost actually increases exponentially. If I wanted to upgrade to level 5, I would need 80 points of spirituality. That's just too exaggerated. But immediately afterward, I felt that spending this much spirituality was totally worth it, because in my mind, a vast amount of combat techniques and knowledge flooded in. I instinctively felt as if I had gone through years of real combat. In just this one instant, I had transformed from a novice rookie into a top-tier elite, so I immediately surged forward to meet them. I delivered a front kick to the faster one, who collapsed like a broken wooden board. The other monster following close behind tried to grab me by the waist, but I met it with a direct knee strike. Before this, I only relied on my superior agility and strength attributes to crush them. But now that mixed martial arts had reached level 4, in my eyes, these monsters in human form were full of flaws. Next, I swung my sword in a backhand arc. The heads of both monsters hit the ground. At this point, I had slain all 6 monsters, gaining a total of 120 spirituality points, and not even half a minute had passed. At the same time, the dozen or so people resting and waiting by the fire door heard the sounds of fighting, and hurried over with their long-handled fluorescent lamps to help. He Ruhai and Yang Huanqing were now struggling to get up from the ground, their faces covered in swollen bruises. Fortunately, while searching the floors on the way up, Su Jiao had found a first aid kit, which could be used for simple treatment. Jiang Tong clutched his throat and coughed repeatedly. I almost got choked to death. Suddenly, Zhang Yan's roar came from the other end of the hallway. Die! Obviously, Zhang Yan and Chen Yinghao's side had also been ambushed. I quickly ran over. From Zhang Yan's description, I learned that although there were only 2 monsters on their side, since they had no one to warn them, Chen Yinghao was caught right in the face at the start. His saber couldn't be wielded properly. If Zhang Yan hadn't reacted quickly, Chen Yinghao might have been killed instantly on the spot. But even so, on Chen Yinghao's neck, a piece of flesh had still been bitten off. Clearly, while the monsters focused their main force on me, they didn't neglect Zhang Yan's side either. This was a premeditated ambush. I was incredibly lucky that I had made advance arrangements. Correspondingly, if it weren't for that voice's warning at the first encounter with the ambush, even if I hadn't died, I would have been pinned down by them. I felt a lingering fear while also pondering just who that voice that appeared in my ear was. Could it be Chu Ting? Regardless, we've passed another hurdle. I shook my somewhat groggy head and focused my attention on the prompts that the system had been popping up. You are currently in a persistent bleeding state. Current status: you will lose 10 health points every hour. Current health points: 85. I looked down at my chest. The blood that was just gushing out earlier was now only slowly seeping out. After losing so much blood, I'd only lost 15 health points. This should only count as a minor injury, right? For an ordinary person, they might have already gone into shock and fainted from blood loss. And what surprised me even more was another line of prompt from the system. Your basic swordsmanship level has reached LV.1. Novice. This is truly an unexpected surprise. I took off my jacket, took the iodine from Su Jiao and poured it directly on my chest. After roughly wrapping it with some cloth, I turned around and was about to head upstairs. At this moment, Jiang Tong pulled me back. Nightfall is less than 10 minutes away. Why don't we go back to the 8th floor to rest and reorganize? Wait until the next daylight. I turned to look at the worried Jiang Tong, the silent Su Jiao, and Chen Yinghao, whose neck was still bleeding. I couldn't help but let out a long sigh. To be honest, me leading you along isn't out of selfless devotion. We're all just getting what we need. Having come to this point, you don't need to thank me for anything. You don't owe me anything, and I won't make any promises to you either. There are only 2 floors left. You can choose for yourselves which path to take. After saying that, I continued strolling toward the stairwell. Behind me, Zhang Yan was the first to follow. Why waste words? Let's just get it done. And although Jiang Tong kept grumbling, he also followed closely. Damn it, I'm regretting it now. If I'd known, I would have stayed on the 8th floor and not come up. Now, even if I'm to die, I have to accompany you. Following them were Su Jiao and the other survivors. They all voiced their agreement. Not a single person was left behind. The corner of my mouth curled into a smile. Good. Then follow me and fight for a way out. Just a few simple words ignited everyone's fighting spirit. However, as soon as I entered the stairwell, I saw 2 people tumbling down from above. I looked up toward the source, only to see a monster on the landing, gnawing on a corpse. Its broad claw was also pinning down a living person who was screaming shrilly but couldn't break free. As the beam from my bright flashlight swept over, the monster instantly turned into an afterimage and vanished. Jiang Tong, behind me, was trembling slightly. These are people from the 8th floor. Why did they run up here themselves? But I didn't pay them any mind and continued running toward the 10th floor. Entering the 10th floor, the floor was covered with corpses. There were humans, and there were monsters. After the group reached the hallway, they all looked to the right with expressions of shock. Over 20 meters away, deep in the right side hallway, many tall, dark green, rotting monsters were lunging and crashing against a crystal-like transparent wall. This crystal wall glowed light blue like some kind of high-tech product. With every impact from a monster, the light blue crystal wall shook violently as if it wouldn't be long before this crystal wall would give way to the monsters. They were crowded together. There had to be at least 20 of them. When the flashlight's wide beam swept over, most of them turned into human form. But because there were too many, The monsters further inside couldn't be reached by the light. They remained in their monster form, continuing to crash against the crystal wall. Through the gaps between the monsters, one could faintly see that there seemed to be people behind the crystal wall. I couldn't help but take a step forward. Chu Ting. At the sound of my voice, the numerous monsters turned around one after another. Under the light of the bright flashlight, although they still maintained their human appearance, they were baring their teeth and glaring at me. That familiar voice rang out in my head again. "Don't come over." I immediately determined that this was the same voice I had heard back in the building. Zhang Yan turned his head to look at me. "What do we do?" It seemed he hadn't heard that voice. I grinned at him. "Charge through." Afterward, I handed the bright flashlight to Su Jiao. "The rear guard is perfect." Zhang Yan took the long-handled fluorescent lamp handed by the person behind him with his left hand. "Let's just give it our all. Don't overthink it. I'll take the lead." I didn't refuse Zhang Yan's help. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. There were only 7 minutes left. I had nowhere left to retreat. If I couldn't even handle these mobs in their human form, how could I hope to face the Night Stalker's true form? All my gloomy emotions had long been replaced by a strong will to survive. Fighting my way from the first floor to here, there was only one way forward. I whispered in my mind, "Convert all system spirit points into skill points. Go all in on basic swordsmanship." With a single thought, the conversion of 40 spirit points was complete. My basic swordsmanship instantly leveled up to LV3 mastery. In that split second, I felt a trance-like sensation as if time were flying by. A vast amount of sword techniques flooded into my mind. It felt as if I had become a true swordsman. In an instant, an indescribable surge of heat rushed to my heart. My fast walk turned into a sprint. This move seemed to provoke the monsters ahead. They all stopped crashing against the crystal wall and lunged toward me instead. I leaped into the air, my knee striking like a heavy cannon, smashing hard into the first monster's face. The person's facial bones caved in instantly, and as they fell, they knocked over the 2 people behind them. At that moment, 2 people reached out from both sides to grab me. I dodged their grasp and swung my long sword in a horizontal slash. A head on my front left flew into the air. Having landed a blow, I didn't rush blindly forward. Instead, I ducked and retreated, narrowly avoiding dozens of grabbing hands. Then, I swung the long sword again, slaying another monster. Suddenly, I saw someone charging from the right. He allowed the 8-sided Han sword to pierce his stomach, just to bite down hard on my arm. At the same time, another person rushed from the front left, grabbing the wooden pole of the fluorescent lamp in my left hand. It snapped with a crack, and he aimed the sharp, broken end at my eye. I reacted quickly, stabbing the remaining wooden pole into his eye socket. Then, gripping the sword with both hands, I used brute force to push him into the crowd. While knocking down several of them, I swung my sword and decapitated 2 more monsters. Afterward, I glanced at the half-broken homemade lamp on the floor, but chose not to pick it up. Instead, I gripped the sword with both hands, spun in place, and executed a sweeping strike that cleared the area. 2 more heads were severed. Spirit points plus 20. Current spirit points, 100. Available for exchange. In just one encounter, lasting less than 10 seconds, I had already slain 5 Spectre clones. However, my previous wounds began to bleed again. System notifications for HP loss kept popping up, forcing me to end the battle as quickly as possible. I held my breath and continued to slash away. Fortunately, Zhang Yan and Chen Yinghao also charged in with their blades, relieving a significant amount of pressure from me. Only then did I turn some attention to the system screen. Spirit points have reached 100. Consume 100 spirit points to increase personal level. Current personal level, LV1. My eyes narrowed slightly, so gathering 100 spirit points allows for a personal level increase. But at this critical moment, I had to ensure that the use of spirit points would immediately increase my combat power. Thus, I decisively converted all 100 spirit points into skill points and continued to go all in on basic swordsmanship. Basic swordsmanship level increased to max. Perfect level. Remaining skill points, 0. The moment the system finished speaking, I felt as though I had entered an entirely different realm. Was this still basic swordsmanship? I felt as if I could start my own school of combat. Just then, the blade in Zhang Yan's hand suddenly snapped. Chen Yinghao's spring embroidery blade was also chipped and dull. He couldn't pull it out of someone's head in time, and was instantly tackled to the ground. In just a second or two, the 2 of them were in extreme danger. Seeing this, I charged forward with my sword, easily rescuing them both. By now, more blood had seeped from my chest and back, completely soaking the gauze wrap. Even though my injuries were worsening, and my speed and strength were waning, my combat effectiveness actually increased. Gripping the sword, I felt as if I had swung it 1,000,000 times, day and night. Every strike was flawlessly sharp. At the same time, behind us, Su Jiao, was standing on a stool, providing light for me, but the light was gradually dimming. Sujio gritted his teeth, pointed in several directions, and shouted, "You guys! Throw all the long-handled lamps over there. The rest of you, hold the remaining lamps, and push forward from behind. Everyone, keep your distance. Don't get in their way." Hearing the voices from behind, I felt a slight sense of relief while fighting. Abandoning the thought of retreating, I decapitated another person. I looked around, and saw only 9 monsters left. By now, they were all in a frenzy, baring their teeth as they lunged at us. The transparent crystal wall in front was also mostly visible now. I clearly saw a woman with a ponytail sitting against the wall inside, watching the battle. This must be Chu Ting. Behind her stood 7 or 8 survivors. They seemed to be students originally from the 10th floor. Now trapped inside, their expressions were incredibly anxious. I didn't have much time to look closely. I tightened my grip with my numb hands, and suddenly pierced through a monster's neck. This 8-sided Han sword, which was quite handy, was now covered in nicks from the constant slashing. The flashlights were also flickering due to dying batteries. Just as the light was about to fail, a long-handled fluorescent lamp flew through the air in an arc. It prevented the remaining monsters from transforming into werewolves. The homemade lamp lit up the surroundings once again. The corner of my mouth turned up. I felt an invisible surge of strength. The iron sword in my hand became even more lethal. As I continued to slay the monsters, my spirit points grew rapidly, reaching 100 once again. Just as I thought I could easily finish off the last 4. Suddenly, the 4 of them stiffened as if possessed. Their bodies trembled violently, clutching their heads and growling, as if enduring immense agony. Seeing this, I swung my sword horizontally. The first one's head was instantly severed, followed by the second. But before I could strike, the second one's head exploded on its own, leaving behind a headless monster corpse. My heart skipped a beat. I had a bad feeling about this. Without pausing for a moment, I swung at the third person. A slightly anxious voice rang in my head. "Stop quickly." But it was too late. My sword had already fallen. The person suddenly distorted, their body ballooning to over 2 meters tall. My powerful, heavy strike only cut 3 inches into the flesh before being blocked by a sharp claw. It wouldn't go any deeper. Then I felt a massive force that made both my hands go numb. Seeing this, I momentarily lost my composure. How is this possible? The light was still there. Why did he transform into a werewolf? And this appearance was clearly different from the blue-black, rotting monsters. The voice in my head spoke again. He was forcibly infused with spirituality and has become a C-rank specter. When threatened with injury or death, it will immediately enter its aberrant form. My scalp tingled at the news. Seeing the black wolf's fur bristle, I knew things were bad. He was too fast. I could only barely retreat and try my best to parry. But the moment my sword struck him, I was sent staggering back. The black-furred werewolf didn't stop, lunging at me again. I rolled to avoid a lethal blow, but before I could stand, screams erupted from behind. I whipped my head around to see the werewolf biting through someone's neck. With a casual swipe, another person's head was split open. In horror, everyone began to retreat. After the black werewolf gorged on a mouthful of flesh, it lunged at me once more. I could only keep dodging. In less than 5 seconds, 2 more people were killed in passing. I noticed the werewolf would only take 2 bites of flesh before stopping to lunge at me again. It seemed eating was just instinct, but killing me was its primary goal. Through careful observation, I realized the werewolf only used lunges, swipes, and bites. It relied solely on speed and brute force. I made a decision after a brief thought. Exchange 8 skill points to upgrade mixed martial arts. 8 skill points exchanged. Mixed martial arts level increased to max perfect. Remaining skill points, 0. With MMA at the max level, I found that both in technique and mindset, I was vastly different from before. I felt that even in a desperate situation, I could maintain a steady mind. As I was upgrading my MMA level, the black werewolf lunged again. Taking advantage of a gap in my dodge, I bent down, grabbed a corpse that had just been killed, and threw it toward the black wolf. The wolf excitedly caught the corpse in its mouth and began crunching away. Just as it leaned down to devour the organs, I had already moved silently behind it. I delivered a killing blow, and the massive head rolled onto the floor. You slew a Spectre clone. Spirit points plus 30. Current spirit points, 70. I finally killed the werewolf. I was nearly at my limit, covered in blood seeping from my wounds. However, Before I could breathe a sigh of relief, the fourth person remaining suddenly got up and lunged at me. I didn't have time to dodge and could only parry with my sword. The eight-sided Han's sword finally couldn't withstand the force and snapped apart. I was then sent flying by the black wolf. I struggled to climb up from the ground. Looking up, I saw the black wolf staring at me with crazed, crimson eyes, slowly walking toward me. Seeing this, I scurried backward. It's over. This black wolf had clearly learned from the last one. It was no longer charging blindly. In this cautious state, even at my peak, it would be difficult to handle, let alone now with my massive blood loss. I shook my head. No. I've come this far. I absolutely cannot give up. When the distance between us was less than 3 meters, the wolf suddenly moved, opening its bloody maw to bite me. I held the broken sword in one hand, aiming for its throat. Just as the maw was about to close on me, the wolf's head was struck as if by a heavy sledgehammer, jerking violently to the side. Suddenly, 3 loud bangs rang out. Bloody holes appeared one after another on the wolf's head. The next second, the tall werewolf collapsed with a thud. I turned to look. The crystal wall had vanished at some point. Peering before my eyes was a tall woman. Her dark hair was tied back in a high ponytail, revealing an elegant face without a trace of makeup. In her hand, she held a handgun with an exaggeratedly large caliber. Seeing the crisis was over, the scattered group gathered around again with their homemade lamps. Afterward, the woman pulled me up. I told you to leave. Why didn't you? What's your goal in looking for me since the first floor? How did you know I was here? I couldn't tell her about my ability to foresee the future. Just as I was about to give a vague answer, she suddenly gave a small smile. You're getting ready to lie to me, aren't you? I was startled by her words. Looking at this woman in her combat gear, I suddenly felt she was quite mysterious. Seeing my surprise, she tossed me a small blue pill. Take this pill first. It'll help with your injuries. Let me give you a lesson. When you're lying, manage your expression better. As I caught the blue pill, a system prompt immediately appeared. Spiritual item detected. Spend 1 spirit point. To view detailed information, forget it. I swallowed it directly. Another system prompt appeared. Bleeding status paused. Current status. Recover 1 HP per minute. Duration. 15 minutes. Current HP. 65. Current spirit points. 60. Then, the woman's voice rang out again. Can you feel it? This medicine suppresses your injuries and triggers the spirit within your body to repair it, restoring a certain amount of HP. Now, continue answering my previous questions. My mouth twitched. You're Chu Ting, right? Time is short. I only have one purpose in finding you. The era node is in room 1104. Can you disrupt the Night Stalker's ascension ritual? As I spoke, I stared intently into her eyes. I saw Chu Ting's eyes widen suddenly. You even know about that? Exactly what talent did you awaken? Wait, why do you want to disrupt the ascension ritual? This isn't your system mission, is it? Chu Ting's mouth clearly didn't move, but her voice rang in my head once again. I nodded slightly. So it turns out I'm not the only one in this world who has awakened a talent. Seeing me nod, Chu Ting facepalmed. Are you looking for a death wish? You're just a rookie. Why would you accept such a mission? Tell me, what's the penalty for failure? How many spirit points will be deducted? I didn't know why Chu Ting was so angry, but it was almost 4 a.m. I didn't have time to explain it to her. With that in mind, I cleared my throat. Let's go first. The Night Stalker is likely to complete the ritual very soon. After hearing this, Chu Ting pulled me forward. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. Wait, the group who had been hiding behind the crystal wall with Chu Ting earlier all caught up with us. Sister Ting, you're not actually going to room 1104, are you? You said you'd lead us out of here. Aren't you a government agent? Protecting us students is supposed to be your job. The group began to shout loudly. Chu Ting's brow furrowed. Didn't I already say? The way out is on the rooftop. You guys go up first. I'll be there soon. As she spoke, she took a small bottle from her waist, poured out 2 small red pills, and swallowed them. Seeing this, I understood immediately. It seemed Chu Ting's body was in quite a bad state, but those students were still persistent. You said the way out is on the rooftop, but what then? Are we supposed to jump off? Seeing them get more worked up, I raised my hand to stop them. You guessed right. Jumping from the rooftop is the only hope of leaving this place. As soon as I said that, they all started cursing at me. What nonsense are you talking about? What do you mean, have us jump? You're disgusting. Sister Ting clearly said she'd save us, just to get Sister Ting to help you. You don't care about anyone else's safety. Just then, voices interrupted their argument. We believe Lin Che. Looking over, I saw Jiang Tong, who had been separated by the werewolf earlier, along with Zhang Yan and the others all gathering around. Chu Ting also stepped forward and patted the leader of the 10th floor group. I also believe Lin Che's words. Jumping from the rooftop is the way to live. Just do as he says. My purpose in coming here was originally to investigate the specter's true form. As for you, I've already fulfilled my duty. I'm not your nanny. I've told you the way out. The choice is yours. Upon hearing this, their expressions turned dejected. After taking the pills, Chu Ting seemed to have recovered quite a bit. She glanced at me, and then headed directly upstairs. As I started up, I looked back at the 9 people who had followed me this far, and finally, my gaze fell on Zhang Yan. Zhang Yan, go with them now. Don't waste time being sentimental here. You must remember, as long as you live, I won't necessarily die. Remember this date. Remember everything that happened today. Then, I leaned in and whispered in his ear, especially remember this. On this day 3 years from now, between 2:35 and 2:45 a.m., you might face a slaughter. Seeing Zhang Yan's conflicted expression, I patted him on the shoulder. Remember what you promised me. Before we left the dormitory, you must believe me unconditionally and do as I say. Hearing this, Zhang Yan gave a heavy nod, turned and was the first to head upstairs. Su Jiao and the others followed, each carrying a homemade lamp. Jiang Tong was the last to go. He pressed a piece of black jade into my hand. I didn't have time to return this to Sister Ting earlier. Help me pass it to her. I'll see you when we get out. Make sure you stay alive. I nodded and said no more. The people from the 10th floor originally didn't want to go to the rooftop, thinking it safer to follow Chu Ting. But once they entered the 11th floor and saw the scene inside, they all ran toward the rooftop as well. A faint black mist filled the 11th floor hallway. Holding a homemade lamp, I quickly caught up with Chu Ting. Chu Ting looked grim. She held a pocket-sized flashlight. Where the light shone, there were eerie patterns painted in blood. Looking closely, these patterns seemed to be slowly writhing. At a glance, an inexplicable fear rose in my heart, as if a specter were drawing near. But looking around, there was nothing. Close by, the doors on both sides were all open, revealing a deep, pitch-black void within. Couldn't see a thing. After just a few more looks, I felt an urge to walk inside. Just then, Chu Ting's voice snapped me back to reality. Don't go in. Steady your mind. It's best if you max out your spirit stat. This floor has become the core where the darkness converges. In every room, there could be different levels of aberrant creatures, all waiting for the Night Stalker to succeed in its ascension. That way, their chance of entering the real world will be much greater. Even with my strength and equipment, I almost died in there. I nodded slightly, although my mind was full of questions. Now was not the time for answers. I followed Chu Ting all the way to the door of room 1104. She stopped and turned to look at me. Are you sure it's here? If we've got the wrong place and encounter a creature even more terrifying than the Night Stalker, neither of us might make it out. I nodded decisively and checked the time. A little over 3 minutes left. There was no more time for hesitation. I had to trust the tip from the future Zhang Yan. Hearing this, Chu Ting turned and entered room 1104. I'll have to trust you then. Keep close to me. I followed her inside. The moment I stepped in, I felt a chaotic jumble of voices flooding my ears. It sounded like someone reciting scriptures, or perhaps a mournful wailing. I couldn't understand the meaning, but it made my head throb. All I could see was a hazy blackness. Chu Ting's small flashlight could only illuminate a tiny area. Vaguely, I could see many figures kneeling ahead. Further ahead, there seemed to be some grand, glowing object, standing out clearly in the black mist. Chu Ting slowed her pace. This is the core where the darkness converges, the junction for the Night Stalker's ascension. Those kneeling figures up ahead are all clones of the Night Stalker. We've finally found the right place. As we moved forward, I felt my movements becoming increasingly sluggish. It wasn't until Chu Ting pulled out an oil lamp from somewhere that the sensation eased slightly. This is the forbidden domain cast by the Night Stalker. The power of darkness is eroding us. That's why our movements are restricted. With prolonged exposure to this erosion, humans will gradually mutate and turn into total monsters. Once the Night Stalker's ascension succeeds, he can manifest a massive domain instantly. When that happens, the entire world will become a playground for the specters. Before she could finish, Chu Ting staggered. I rushed forward to support her. What's wrong? The moment I saw her face, my pupils contracted sharply. Chu Ting was bleeding from her eyes, nose, and ears. Her face was contorted in pain. She gritted her teeth and looked at me. Carry me over there. My injuries are too severe. I can't suppress them anymore. Hearing this, I hoisted Chu Ting onto my back and sprinted toward the gathering of figures. After about 7 or 8 breaths, I finally saw the situation ahead clearly. In the open space, there was a massive lake of blood. Beside the lake, a group of people was kneeling in unison before an altar. The altar was about 1 meter high and roughly 5 meters wide. I looked closer. It was built entirely from flesh and blood. Human faces were squirming and interlocking within it, emitting agonizing groans. My skin crawled instantly. Though I didn't know all these faces, I had seen most of them before. Specifically, a few of those faces belonged to Su Pengju and the others. The people who had been devoured by the monsters had all appeared on this altar of flesh. Atop that altar stood a massive 3-dimensional phantom. The phantom was a deep, vivid crimson, yet the light it emitted was a thick, pure white, illuminating every corner of the area. Bathed in this holy radiance, I felt an overwhelming urge to kneel. Even though I couldn't understand their speech at first, as I drew closer, I was shocked to find that I could grasp the meaning of their words. They were chanting a hymn. "Oh, great Lord! You are the King of the infinite abyss. You are the sovereign to whom all spirits return. You are the final tomb where all existence must go." The kneeling crowd and the distorted faces on the meat altar sang together. The fanaticism in their voices hit my brain like a wave. The further I walked, the harder it was to control my thoughts. As the chanting intensified again, my eyes became bloodshot, and I felt an immense mental pressure. Simultaneously, more people were melting into flesh to join the altar. The cacophony of mad voices pushed me to the brink of collapse. That's when Chu Ting's voice reached my mind. "Lin Che, wake up. There's only 1 minute left. Destroy the altar." I snapped back to reality. Realizing what had just happened, a chill ran down my spine. Chu Ting struggled to get off my back. She took a palm-sized grenade from her tactical belt. "Use this to destroy the altar. Pull the pin and throw it directly." Without hesitation, I took it, pulled the pin, and hurled it with all my might. First, a bang, followed by a much more violent explosion. A massive shockwave and a wall of fire swept outward. Even though I had pulled Chu Ting down with me, I still felt a searing heat on my back. When I looked up, the flesh altar was gone. Pieces of flesh and blood were splattered everywhere. The phantom that had stood on the altar was also slowly fading away. Seeing this, Chu Ting let out a long breath. "We finally did it. Let's get out of here." Since the ritual failed, the Night Stalker is about to wake up. However, before she could finish her sentence, her expression changed suddenly. "Check the system page quickly. See if there's a mission complete notification." Prompted by Chu Ting, I quickly opened the system interface, my heart jumping into my throat. Nothing. The mission was still active. I looked toward where the altar had been. The kneeling crowd nearby had only 5 people left, but they had not stopped praying. The mission timer on the system page was still ticking. Chu Ting scrambled back onto my back. "Damn it, the power of the ritual is still there. Quick, carry me over." The spiritual energy for the ascension was already sufficient. The rest is just a formality. Once all the clones finish their prayers, he will gain true authority. Between these two, one is the Night Stalker's true body, and the other is just a clone. We must kill the clone ahead of time to prevent the ritual from continuing. While Chu Ting was speaking, I had already started running forward. "Do you have more thermobaric grenades? Wouldn't it be easier to just blow them all up?" Chu Ting hurried to stop me. "No. A specter of the Night Stalker's level is extremely sensitive to danger. If he senses danger, he'll wake up immediately, and those grenades would only wound him at most. While it would interrupt the ritual, we would definitely be killed by him on the spot." The 10-meter distance was covered in just a few strides. The last 2 people were holding their hands high and bowing down. Under the faint holy light, they were shouting their prayers at the top of their lungs. Chu Ting drew her blade and handed it to me. "Don't wait any longer. The Night Stalker has already detected us. We must make a choice now. We can't wait until the last second to strike. Otherwise, once the last clone dissolves under the ritual's power, everything will be too late. Your talent should be related to precognition, right? Find the Night Stalker's clone and kill it." I hurriedly took the sword, cold sweat dripping from my forehead. My talent was about experiencing things in a dream before they happened in reality. If I were still in the dream, I could just take a guess and pick one. But the dream was over. If I killed the Night Stalker's true body, it would wake up instantly, and both Chu Ting and I would die here. Another impossible choice. Suddenly, I shuddered. "Wait! I know what to do." I reached out and pressed my palm firmly onto the nearest person's shoulder. Mind reading activate. Instantly, an eerie voice echoed in my mind. "Almost there. True authority. The embrace of the gods." My brain throbbed with pain. I withdrew my hand with difficulty. My eyes felt sore and swollen, as if I hadn't slept for 3 days and nights. I was mentally exhausted, but that was enough. In that instant, I had distinguished between the Night Stalker's body and the clone. At the same time, the two kneeling figures finished their third bow and were raising their hands to offer themselves up. I raised the blade and slashed down. After dealing with the two of them, I hoisted Chu Ting back onto my back and sprinted for the exit. You have successfully stopped the Night Stalker's ascension task. Life and death choice task completed. Rating generating. Task rewards generated. Escaping the darkness convergence zone. Rewards being issued. As the system notifications popped up one after another, the space around us began to tremble violently as if it were about to collapse at any moment. Using every ounce of my strength, I ran out of the dormitory in less than 10 seconds. Chu Ting swapped the oil lamp for a flashlight. To the rooftop. Although the ascension failed, the residual power of darkness will linger for a while. This time, the Night Stalker will wake up and personally begin the hunt. We have to get out of here fast. Once we're outside, we'll be safe. I didn't waste time talking and headed straight for the stairwell nearby. With 20 seconds left, there was plenty of time to reach the rooftop. Just then, the fire door ahead burst open. I was startled at first, but seeing who it was made my eyes sting with emotion. What did you come back for? Zhang Yan took 2 steps forward to grab me. Don't talk nonsense. I waited for ages on the roof and didn't see you, so of course I had to come down and check. You risked your life to save me. How could I really leave you behind and escape on my own? Did you finish it? I carried Chu Ting to the fire door. Let's go. Soon we reached the roof. Looking down from the rooftop, I realized the entire dormitory building was completely shrouded in a thick, pitch-black fog. At the same time, the 20 or so people on the roof were standing by the edge, hesitating. What should we do? Are we really jumping? What if we fall to our deaths? Zhang Tong and those guys just jumped down, but we haven't heard a sound. It's almost 4 a.m. If another monster comes up, we're done for. As the crowd argued, their eyes lit up when they saw Chu Ting and me. Lin Che, Sister Ting, you're finally here. We were all waiting for you. Worried something happened. I ignored their concerns and quickly scanned the group. They were all survivors from the 8th and 10th floors. Su Jiao, Zhang Tong, and the others were already gone. It seemed they had already jumped according to my instructions. Zhang Yan sneered. These idiots. Still dawdling here. I gave him a kick. You're no better. Get down there. Then I stepped up onto the ledge. It was pitch black below. Suddenly the lights went out. Night had descended. The system timer disappeared. I knew it was 4 a.m. Not only that, I felt like I was submerged in deep water again. My entire body was restricted. Even breathing felt difficult and oppressive. Fear washed over me like a tide. Chu Ting's weak voice whispered, "Quick! The Night Stalker is here." I didn't dare delay any longer and immediately leaped off, carrying Chu Ting down from the rooftop. There was no sensation of falling. After a brief moment of vertigo, my feet hit solid ground. Zhang Yan also appeared beside me out of thin air. He spun around a few times, nearly falling over. Then came a series of screams, as the dozen others tumbled clumsily to the ground. I looked around. We were standing outside the first floor exit of the dormitory, but the path ahead was still covered in black mist. Under the light of the oil lamp, visibility was only about 5 meters. Beyond that, everything was swallowed by darkness. As for the homemade fluorescent lamps and phone lights, they were only effective within the range of the oil lamp. Outside that range, it was like looking into a dead-end abyss. I shouted, "Run!" and quickly dashed forward. The 10 or so people who jumped with us were all screaming as they followed. A few were still retching and hadn't recovered yet. I didn't wait for them. As the light from the oil lamp moved further away, terrified cries for help came from behind, which quickly turned into agonized screams. My face darkened, and a shadow fell over my heart. It seemed the Night Stalker had caught up from behind. We had been running for nearly half a minute. At this speed, even if we hadn't left the dormitory area, we should have seen the neighboring buildings by now. But all I could see was the asphalt road beneath my feet. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing. I couldn't even see the roadside landscaping or bushes that should have been there. Looking back, the dormitory building had vanished too. Everything was cloaked in black fog. Losing all sense of direction, I could only keep running by instinct. Zhang Yan could still keep up, but the others who had jumped down with us were gradually losing their stamina. 2 people accidentally tripped, and soon after, shrill screams rang out. A pretty boy survivor from the 10th floor gasped for air. "Why can't we get out? How much longer do we have to run? Didn't you say we'd escape if we just jumped? Sister Ting, please find a way to save us. Aren't you a government official?" The rest were also terrified and helpless. Chu Ting's voice spoke up slowly. The rule is correct. The reason we can't get out is because the Night Stalker has distorted our perception of space. In reality, we haven't run very far. A distance that normally takes seconds to cover might take over 10 minutes now. Everyone fell silent upon hearing this, dragging their exhausted bodies forward. My expression was grim. This isn't a long-term solution. We'll eventually be worn down to death. Sensing my thoughts, Chu Ting's voice spoke in my mind. Keep running. I can hold on a bit longer. The Night Stalker failed his ascension. He can't maintain the forbidden domain for long. Just don't let him catch up to us. Chu Ting's words were calm, and the oil lamp in her hand continued to glow. However, I suddenly felt my shoulder and back getting wet. I looked back in confusion, and saw that Chu Ting was bleeding from her eyes, nose, and ears again. The amount of blood was so great it had soaked through my shirt. I stopped immediately. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with the oil lamp? If you can't hold it, give it to me. Chu Ting shook her head. Don't worry about me. Keep running. As she spoke, the oil lamp's light dimmed abruptly. The illumination range shrank to about 3 meters. I felt the resistance against my running increase. An inexplicable sense of fear coiled in my heart, and my breathing became labored. If even I felt this way, the others were even worse off. Zhang Yan was doing okay. He hadn't sustained serious injuries, nor had he lost much blood like me. But the others couldn't take it anymore. The pretty boy clutched his neck and stopped suddenly. I can't breathe. It hurts so much. Losing the protection of the oil lamp's light, the pretty boy's silhouette was swallowed by darkness, and his voice was cut short. The oil lamp grew dimmer and dimmer. The resistance grew stronger, and I felt more and more strained. An eerie laugh suddenly echoed from behind. You can't escape. At first, the voice sounded far away, but it closed the distance in the blink of an eye. Zhang Yan's hair stood on end from fear. Holy crap! I looked back. Che, I can't hold on much longer. Your best brother is about to be eaten. Don't you have any thoughts on this? Zhang Yan was running for his life. What thoughts could I have? I just want to run faster. I really wanted to punch him. What's the use of being scared now? I told you to leave earlier, but you wouldn't. The eerie laughter behind us was getting closer. My scalp felt numb. I turned to Zhang Yan, deciding to give him a little stimulation to see if I could trigger his system. Do you think it's over once that guy eats us? He'll gain our memories, and even take our forms, to go and eat our families. My parents are long gone, but your whole family moved to Haicheng, right? If that guy behind us eats you, it won't be long before they're all dead. Do you remember how Su Ming died? Did anyone else even have an intact corpse left? Your mom, your dad, your sister, and your little nephew. None of them will escape, especially your little nephew. Such a small child. He must have very tender skin. Zhang Yan clutched his head and roared. Stop talking. Zhang Yan spun around, glaring at the tall shadow in the darkness behind us. He took a step forward and threw a massive punch. He actually sent the huge, emerging figure flying backward. After that punch, Zhang Yan was stunned for a moment, followed by an expression of disbelief. Finally, all his emotions turned into pure ecstasy. Ha 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 ha. Little Che, I'm the protagonist. I really am born to be extraordinary. From now on, I'll take care of you. You'll live like a king. I didn't even need to think about it. For him to act this cocky, he must have awakened a talent and bound to a system. Then, the eerie laughter came again. A werewolf, completely black and emitting a faint black mist, lunged out from the darkness, pinning Zhang Yan to the ground. But Zhang Yan acted as if it were nothing. Before the Night Stalker could bite down, he grabbed the creature's wrists tightly. The sharp claws were right in front of Zhang Yan's eyes, but they couldn't move an inch further. Just as the Night Stalker's body was about to hit the ground, Zhang Yan suddenly flipped over, grabbing the Night Stalker's arms. Like he was swinging a rope, he slammed it violently into the ground. There was a loud bang, and dust filled the air. Under the dim light of the oil lamp, a massive, human-shaped crater had been smashed into the asphalt. Such an exaggerated scene. Not to mention me, even. Chu Ting let out a sharp gasp of disbelief. What kind of talent had he awakened? Zhang Yan gave a faint, mocking laugh. Is that all? Then, as the Night Stalker tried to get up again, he raised his foot and stomped it back down. Then he leaned over and smashed a punch down on the Night Stalker's head. The Night Stalker's head was driven deeper and deeper into the ground, its entire body forced into the earth at an angle. Even the black mist dissipated significantly. My whole body suddenly felt lighter. That sensation of being constricted as if underwater had vanished. I was overjoyed. It seemed we were safe for now. At that moment, Chu Ting handed me the knife from her waist. This knife is made of a special material. With the power Zhang Yan is showing now, he might actually be able to slay the Night Stalker. Hurry, let him try it, lest more trouble arises. I didn't dare delay, hurrying forward to hand the knife to Zhang Yan. Take it. Unexpectedly, Zhang Yan's face was deathly pale, and he didn't seem to have any intention of stopping to take the knife. He just kept throwing punch after punch. No, I can't stop. My heart sank. At this moment, Zhang Yan's expression no longer held any of the confidence or arrogance from before. Instead, it was filled with urgency and anxiety. I didn't know what was wrong. I shouted again, "Hurry! Take the knife. This knife can kill him." Zhang Yan's body suddenly trembled. Then he slowly turned to look at me. The faint light radiating around him vanished instantly. His whole body went stiff, and he fell directly into the crater at his feet. I was horrified, and rushed forward to check on him. I saw blood beads seeping out from every pore of Zhang Yan's body. In an instant, he was covered in blood. I was completely stunned. I had to set Chu Ting down first, and hurriedly pull Zhang Yan out of the crater. With no time to check his condition further, I grabbed the knife and slashed at the werewolf. But to my surprise, even with all my strength, the blade barely cut in. I slashed 4 more times in succession, but it only deepened the Night Stalker's wounds slightly. Instead, my own wounds burst open. Blood gushed out. The scraps of paper and bandages wrapped around my chest had completely lost their effect. My health points continued to drop, leaving only 60 points. The Night Stalker's limbs twitched violently. Judging by its arm movements, it was clearly trying to crawl back up. Chu Ting struggled to pull a pistol from her waist and threw it to me. "Your strength is too weak. You can't perform spiritual infusion yet. Your blade power isn't as high as Zhang Yan's just now. This gun might not be very effective. But while he's in a weakened state, try to inflict as much damage as possible." I caught the pistol, felt heavy in my hand. I pulled back the slide, aimed at the Night Stalker's head, and pulled the trigger repeatedly. Bang! 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 3 consecutive bullets hit the Night Stalker's head. Gun smoke filled the air. Bloody holes exploded on the Night Stalker's head, but the kill notification still didn't trigger. The thick fog around us didn't dissipate either. A coarse roar rang out again, filled with intense fury. My scalp went numb with fear. I dropped the pistol, pulled Chu Ting back onto my shoulders, tucked Zhang Yan's body under my left arm, and began to sprint forward. Just then, I saw some blurry figures ahead. My heart tightened, and I slowed my pace. Trembling voices came from the darkness ahead. "Oh no! A monster is coming. There's still hope if we run." I breathed a sigh of relief. "Su Jiao, it's me." The people ahead stopped instantly, and ran back toward the sound of my voice. Once they reached the range of the oil lamp, the pale faces of the group relaxed slightly. "Lin Che, it really is you. We thought the monster had caught up." They crowded around me with looks of relief. I helped Su Jiao and asked, "Didn't you guys leave a long time ago? Why are you still here?" Su Jiao's expression was panicked. "After we jumped off the rooftop, we could almost see the outside. But then, the black fog covering the dormitory building suddenly expanded, trapping us inside again. I suspect we've just been running in circles." Chu Ting, on my back, tapped me. "Impossible. The Night Stalker was in the middle of its ascension ritual. It couldn't have spared the effort for you, unless an even more terrifying creature emerged before the Night Stalker's ritual was complete." Chu Ting's voice was full of urgency. "Run. We must pick up the pace. No matter what, this newly appeared creature is definitely more horrific than the Night Stalker. It's augmenting the Night Stalker's domain. It must be trying to trap us." Preparing to choose a suitable host for possession, the group was terrified, and quickly quickened their pace. Suddenly, a deep and magnetic voice echoed softly in everyone's ears. "Don't go. Give your bodies to me. I want your bodies." This voice was completely different from the Night Stalker's previous coarse tone. I couldn't help but look back. A tall figure stepped out of the darkness. Bright black fur, sharp claws, and a head full of bullet holes. It was clearly the Night Stalker, but that voice. Chu Ting looked back at me through bloodied eyes. "The Night Stalker is being controlled. As I thought, a more terrifying entity has appeared. To be able to control a Night Stalker, this must be an S-rank supernatural entity. The world is truly doomed." Suddenly, someone was grabbed amidst the panic. The tall figure then shook its head. "Not good enough." In an instant, that person was lifted and torn in half. As blood rained down, the tall figure buried its face in the person's torso, and began to feast. Everyone's legs went weak with fear. What should we do? Are we all going to die here? Just then, the range of the light suddenly expanded, and the surrounding fog grew thinner. Everyone felt a sudden lightness, and that intense feeling of constriction vanished. Chu Ting's bloody lips curled up slightly. "Hold on. The power of the domain is starting to dissipate. We're almost out." The group's motivation surged, but at that moment, the ethereal voice drifted into their ears again. "Don't go. How honored you are to have the chance to be my vessel. Stay, all of you. That voice, as pleasant as a spring breeze, caused my already blurred consciousness to waver. I wanted to stop, to let my exhausted body bask in a warm embrace. Chu Ting pinched me hard. Wake up, you can't let him catch you. Especially you and Zhang Yan. People like you who have awakened talents on your own are the chosen ones of this world. You absolutely cannot become a vessel for a ghost of this level. Otherwise, it will be a catastrophe. Following Chu Ting's words, the others snapped out of it as well. They quickened their pace again, narrowly escaping the grasp of the tall figure behind them. Suddenly, I felt the sense of constriction increase manifold. I looked back. Everyone was moving in slow motion. Soon, another person was dragged into the darkness. While everyone was terrified, Su Jiao suddenly stopped. His eyes were full of tears. No one can save us. Instead of being eaten one by one, we might as well fight that monster together. We're destined not to survive, but at least one must live on. Lin Che, please live for us. When you're strong enough, you must kill that monster to avenge us. Su Jiao roared. The others seemed to be inspired as well. At this moment, they all overcame their fear. At most, it's just death. What's there to be afraid of? I'll be another brave man in 18 years. Seeing this, my heart was shaken, not by their courage, but because this was all too abnormal. Some people can sacrifice themselves for their country or for their loved ones. But these were just ordinary students. A moment ago, they were struggling to survive, clinging to life on the edge of death. In the blink of an eye, because of a few words from Su Jiao, they were ready to face death. This was somewhat terrifying. Then Su Jiao walked over to me. I said, when faced with a danger we couldn't handle, I'd find a way for others to cover your retreat. Actually, I just wanted to trick them into dying, so that my own chances of escaping would be a bit higher. But for some reason, when those words came out, I also wanted to stay and die together. Lin Che, you and Zhang Yan must leave. Live on for our sakes too. After saying this, Su Jiao stopped. Like the others, he charged toward the tall figure in the night. The sounds of tearing and screams rose one after another. With them, the bewitching voice faded away. Then I felt my body regain its freedom. The sense of constriction lightened significantly. At that moment, Chu Ting's soft whisper rang in my ear. Lin Che, you and Zhang Yan must leave. Don't feel guilty. Don't carry this burden. I turned my head and saw that in Chu Ting's eyes, a faint silver light was still glowing. This was already a small thought in their minds. I simply amplified it, so it replaced their will to survive and became the dominant thought. That Su Jiao was the same. I felt through his emotional waves that he wanted to trick those people into covering the rear so that he could take the opportunity for a slightly better chance of survival. So I made him stay too. Run, faster. Use this time they've bought for you. I suddenly understood the reason for everything. Chu Ting had manipulated them into their deaths. Chu Ting took the oil lamp from my hand. I've been tracking the Night Stalker for 6 months. I only recently found some clues. The Night Stalker's ascension requires 2 conditions. First, a large amount of spirituality and flesh. Second, during this ritual, it must create enough clones and sacrifice both. Remember these traits of the Night Stalker and the ascension conditions. Survive as long as you can and kill him one day in the future. I shook my dizzy head and voiced my doubts. According to you, these spirits have existed for a long time, yet society is still stable. At least on the surface, they haven't caused any major waves. This means the authorities must have a way to control them. The Night Stalker has been on a killing spree here for several hours now. Why hasn't anyone come to deal with it? And before you came, didn't you prepare any backup? Chu Ting was silent for 2 seconds before answering my question. Because supernatural incidents are becoming more frequent, it's hard for us to cover every single place. I only found some clues and came here because of a new discovery. But in the end, I didn't have definitive evidence. However, to prevent emergencies, I set a scheduled text message for a teammate. If there's no news from me by 3:30, it means something's wrong, and armed forces should be deployed immediately. I blurted out, but it's long past 4 o'clock now. Is it true that all spirits need a human body as a host? And according to the revelations, humans are the best hosts for them. Then is it possible that your teammate has already been possessed? Just as Chu Ting was about to say something, the tall figure in the darkness approached again. Humble insects, where are you going? Stay here. I already feel a vessel that matches my power. Among you, my already dizzy head felt even heavier. The oil lamp in my hand began to flicker and sway. A tidal wave of pressure swept over us. At this point, Chu Ting jumped off my back. It's finally my turn. I really don't want to die. The reason I investigated this place alone is actually for another reason. Our team hunted the Night Stalker many times, but he escaped every time. I suspected there was an internal problem. But since humans and spirits are natural enemies, I didn't look into it further. They were just some suspicions. But looking back now, it truly was abnormal. That teammate of mine, his name is Han Chung. You can suspect him, but until you have enough strength, don't pursue it. Compared to the truth, staying alive is more important. By now Chu Ting's exposed skin was covered in cracks. Blood began to seep out, but she still raised her knife and moved forward, gradually disappearing into the darkness. Only a faint voice drifted back. I'm saving you, only because you're more valuable than I am. I hope one day you'll kill the Night Stalker, and every other supernatural creature you see. You must live. I didn't look back. When Chu Ting got off my back, I had already picked up Zhang Yan, who I'd been carrying. I walked forward with the lamp, never looking back. Zhang Yan's weak voice suddenly spoke. You're different from before. Put me down. I'm just a burden to you now. I can feel that I'm about to die. But I didn't hesitate for a moment, and continued walking forward. As my spiritual value was completely depleted, my whole body gave a sudden shudder. I felt my vital energy rapidly draining away, being continuously extracted. Zhang Yan on my back felt like a mountain. My legs felt as if they were filled with lead. Then Zhang Yan gave a soft sigh. I already owe you enough. Why must I drag you down when I'm about to die? Like a tiny little cloud. As he spoke, a faint glow emanated from Zhang Yan's body, like a tiny spark in an oil lamp, flickering and unsteady, seeming as if it would go out at any moment. This was a side of Zhang Yan I'd never seen. If only there were no monsters in this world. If only we could be as carefree as we were when we were kids. How wonderful that would be. Che, take me home. I took another dozen steps forward through sheer willpower. Okay, let's go home. Suddenly, the system's voice rang out. You have left the Dark Convergence. Mission rewards are being distributed. I looked up sharply. The view ahead suddenly opened up. In my blurred vision, the familiar asphalt road stretched ahead. The greenery on both sides, the adjacent dormitory buildings, and the school buildings further away, all came into view. My voice trembled. Zhang Yan, we made it out. I'm taking you home. However, there was no response from my back. My consciousness had long been foggy, and my brain was functioning very slowly. I didn't even have the energy to turn my head to see what was happening behind me, so I stood there in a daze for a while. Finally, driven by instinct, I wanted to get as far away from that place as possible. So I walked out through the school's side gate, to the front door of a house. I stepped forward and rang the doorbell. Before long, footsteps came from inside. Who is it? Knocking so early in the morning? Uncle, it's me, Lin Che. The door was thrown open. A middle-aged man stepped out. He looked about 60 or 70% like Zhang Yan. At this moment, his face was full of shock. Lin Che, what happened? Before he could finish, he saw Zhang Yan slumped on my back. He stepped forward nervously. He hurried forward to help Zhang Yan down from my back. At the same time, he roared into the house without looking back. Get the hell out here. Something happened to Xiao Yan. As he spoke, the middle-aged man began to examine Zhang Yan. When he found that although Zhang Yan's breathing was weak, his heart was still beating, and there were no serious wounds on his body, his tense expression relaxed a bit. I stumbled as I turned to leave, muttering, "He's home. I have to go home too." I kept repeating those words. After going downstairs, I froze for 2 seconds. I seemed to have forgotten something very important. The system rewards. I had actually forgotten something so important. I didn't have time to think about why. In this brief moment of clarity, I quickly opened the system. I found that the task rewards were indeed already listed. Base rewards. You may choose one of the following 3 spirit sequences. Sequence 1, Berserker. Skill, Level 1 Frenzy. When activated, your strength and agility attributes increase by 50%, and pain sensation is reduced by 50%. Sequence 2, Illusionist. Skill, Level 1 Empathy. You can initially sense a target's surface-level emotional fluctuations. Sequence 3, Thief. Skill, Level 1 Steal. Within a certain range, you can take a physical object from a target without making physical contact. Rating rewards. Based on this mission's rating, you may choose 2 of the following 4 rewards. Option 1, High-Grade Life Recovery Potion. Repairs injuries within 10 seconds, restoring vital signs to their peak. Option 2, Increase Max Spiritual Value. Option 3, Extraordinary Skill Usage. Clone. One-time use only. Option 4, Exclusive Space. can store system-certified items. The above base and rating rewards must be selected within 1 hour. Failure to do so will be considered a forfeit. Countdown starting. The system rewards had been ready for distribution, and it had given me an hour to choose. But now only 2.5 minutes remained. I knocked my head, enduring the pain in my brain. Seeing that time was running out, I immediately made a decision. System, I choose the high-grade life recovery potion and the extraordinary skill usage. As I spoke, a test tube appeared out of thin air in my hand, filled with green liquid. I pulled out the stopper and gulped it down. A cooling sensation surged down my throat. Instantly, my whole body felt a tingling sensation. Every cell seemed to be cheering. At that moment, my entire being began to regain its vitality. In a moment, my injuries were completely healed, though the dizziness in my head remained. The ringing in my ears continued. I checked my status panel. HP 100. Current status, abnormal. At that moment, I couldn't help but recall what Chu Ting had said to me. If exposed to dark corruption for too long, a human would gradually become supernatural themselves. The current, abnormal status, was that the reason? I had thought that, after taking the recovery potion, as my vital signs returned to their peak, I would be able to think normally, but clearly that didn't work. There were only 1 minute and 20 seconds left. I closed my eyes and thought. Among the 3 spirit sequences, the frenzy skill was very strong. Although it was simple and crude, if leveled up to the maximum, one's individual combat power would soar to a truly exaggerated level. It was truly a case of power overcomes all. I was about to choose Berserker, but in an instant, another thought crossed my mind. This was, after all, too crude. The mental state after a frenzy might be unstable. Just look at those people the night demon possessed. Each one had a hideous expression, as if they had lost their minds. This indicates that this ability might not be as strong as I imagined. Conversely, the one who controlled the night demon is very likely an S-class supernatural creature, a believer in the phantom god of the end. Therefore, the illusionist path should be much more powerful. If I level up Beguile to the maximum, I might be able to manipulate others as I please. I feel that the illusionist path is actually quite good. If the thief path is followed to its later stages, it might become very perverse. As the spirit sequence progresses further, one might even be able to steal non-physical items, like stealing thoughts, attribute points, luck, or skills. Perhaps, just as the prompt suggested, I could even steal the rules of the world. Since I've already given up on the crude and simple path of the Berserker, I might as well go with the sneaky thief playstyle. After all, my talent is premeditation, which gives me many chances for trial and error. I was immediately ready to choose the thief path, but right at that moment, another thought popped into my head. The future of the thief path, after all, is just my speculation. Even if it really is as I think, there might still be many restrictions. All things considered, the illusionist path is more reliable. My brain still hurt, but at this moment, as if struck by inspiration, my thinking became extraordinarily fast, as if it had completely recovered. I thought of all the benefits of Beguile. Not only that, I suddenly noticed that below the illusionist path, another note had appeared at some point. A woven illusion, a cradle of fantasy. Reality and falsehood are but 2 sides of the same coin. This was simply incredible. My heart skipped a beat, seeing there were only 3 seconds left to choose, and the pain in my head suddenly became unbearable again. I no longer hesitated, and immediately chose the illusionist path. You have successfully obtained the sequence, illusionist. I felt a sudden realization. All sorts of thoughts flashed through my mind. These were methods for using the Beguile ability. I don't know if it was an illusion caused by my state, or because the mental tension had finally relaxed. But after finishing the selection, a wave of intense exhaustion swept through my whole body. I raised my hand and hit my head hard several times. My mind was once again clouded. Only the strong desire to go home kept me from collapsing and falling asleep on the spot. I staggered out of the neighborhood, walking toward the direction of home in my memory. I carried the extinguished oil lamp out the gate. Although I was covered in blood, the young security guard on duty only gave me a glance and didn't ask any questions. This Beguile ability is really useful, but the 15-minute cooldown time is still too long. I knew my current appearance would definitely attract a lot of attention. I had to get back soon to clean up. Otherwise, it would surely cause unnecessary trouble. Enduring the sleepiness and fatigue, I finally arrived in front of a small courtyard. I felt both excited and a bit hesitant. I quietly climbed over the wall into the yard. The old dog lying on the ground saw me, wagged its tail and ran over. It let out a low whimper and lightly licked my pant leg. A heartfelt smile appeared at the corners of my mouth. I patted the dog's head a few times, wait for the local dog to wag its tail, and lie back down in its crude doghouse. Only then did I quietly go to the front door. I gently turned the doorknob, As expected, it was already locked. I sighed softly. Since I had left my key at the dorm, I had to follow the plan and wait for Beguile's 15-minute cooldown to end. Then I climbed up to the second floor, grabbed the security window, and knocked gently on the glass. It wasn't long before the curtains inside were pulled open, revealing a young woman in pajamas. Just as she was about to scream, I immediately activated the Beguile skill, making her ignore the blood all over me. "Lin Kaiwei, it's me. Help me open the door." The young woman was stunned for a moment, then nodded repeatedly. She turned and ran out of the room, leaving me with the view of her back. I breathed a sigh of relief and jumped down from the second floor. I didn't want to wake my parents. After all, my skill could only work on a single target. So I had to wake my sister. The young woman opened the door. "Aren't you supposed to be at school? Why are you back so early? And knocking on my window?" I waved my hand, not wanting to dwell on this matter. "I'll tell you later. I'm a bit tired. I'll go take a shower first." Just then, the chandelier on the first floor was suddenly turned on. A middle-aged couple walked out of their bedroom, running to me with panic-stricken faces, trying to see if I was injured. "Son, what on earth happened to you? Quick, let Mom see where you're hurt." The middle-aged woman's tears were flowing freely, while the middle-aged man ran to get the medical kit. He also took out his phone to call for an ambulance. Thinking quickly, I hurriedly came up with a lame excuse. "Mom, Dad, don't worry. This isn't blood. I went to a cosplay event last night because it was too late to go back to the dorm. I came home, but I was afraid of waking you guys, so I stayed outside all night. I couldn't hold on this morning, so I had Sis open the door for me." Then, a boy ran downstairs. "Bro, did someone bully you? Tell me, and I'll beat them up for you." I immediately stood up and took off my outer shirt, unwrapping the bandages still on my body, to show them I had no wounds. Seeing this, my parents finally let out a long sigh of relief. Seeing that my family didn't doubt me at all, I was also relieved. Truly, family is always the one you can trust the most. Watching them get busy for me, a strong sense of warmth welled up in my heart. At the dining table, a large table of delicious dishes had been prepared. There was sweet and sour pork, stewed ribs, steamed crab, and lots of candied haws. These were all my favorites. The whole family sat around the table, looking at me with smiles on their faces. My father even held a transformer toy, grinning and waving it at me, making a funny face. My younger brother sat obediently to the side with an innocent gaze. My older sister held a book of fairy tales and began to read it beautifully, narrating it clearly. A kind smile appeared on my mother's face. My body trembled as I sat down. I picked up my chopsticks and began to eat heartily. I felt that this meal was so sweet and delicious. In this warm atmosphere, my head didn't seem to hurt so much anymore, as if it had been healed by my family's love. I made up my mind then. This is the harbor for my soul, the home I crave most when I'm tired. I will protect this place forever. After eating, I felt even more tired. I said goodbye to my parents and siblings, and went to my room to sleep. Before sleeping, I also plugged in my phone to charge, intending to reconnect with the future Zhang Yan. In my dreams, when I asked the real-life Zhang Yan to escape first, I had already warned him very solemnly that a massacre would occur at dawn 3 years from now. This time, Zhang Yan had only lost too much blood. He had also killed many of the Night Demon's clones. His physical condition was far beyond ordinary people's, so he shouldn't die that easily. As long as Zhang Yan kept my words in mind, when I entered the dream state again, it was very likely I could contact the future Zhang Yan again. I had many questions in my mind. The biggest doubt in my heart was the sentence, "Never trust anyone." Does it have any deeper meaning? If I really couldn't trust anyone, then when I first woke up, if I hadn't trusted the text message from the future Zhang Yan, it would have been hard for me to survive. If I hadn't trusted Chu Ting later, I wouldn't have been able to escape either. Amidst these many complicated thoughts, I unknowingly fell asleep. When I woke up again, my head no longer hurt. I felt energetic and very comfortable. I picked up my phone from the bedside and found it was only 7 o'clock. I had only slept for over an hour, but I felt like I had slept for an entire day and night. I immediately opened the chat app, trying to find the future Zhang Yan's profile picture. However, I couldn't find it. There was only one Zhang Yan in my contacts. Right at that moment, a voice call came in. It was a call from the real-life Zhang Yan. I perked up and immediately clicked to answer. Zhang Yan's hurried voice came through the phone. "Lin Che, where are you?" His voice was loud and clear. He seemed to be fine now. I immediately let out a sigh of relief. "I just had a nap at home. How are you doing now?" Zhang Yan's voice sounded a bit anxious. "I'm fine now. The question is, How are you doing? Why would you be at home? When did your family move to Haicheng? I was stunned for a moment. What nonsense are you talking about? My home has always been in Haicheng. Aren't we childhood friends? If my home weren't in Haicheng, how would we have known each other since we were little? Zhang Yan's tone became even more anxious. That's because my family moved to Haicheng. How could you possibly have the money to buy a house in Haicheng? Even if you sold the shop and storefront your parents left for you, it would barely be enough to buy a decent house in Haicheng. Quick! Tell me exactly where you are. I felt an unprovoked irritation welling up in me. I'm just at home. What do you mean, left for me? Zhang Yan, can you talk properly? My parents are in great health. I just had a meal with them, and my sister and brother too. Our family has lived in Haicheng since I was a kid. Zhang Yan suddenly screamed into the phone. What the hell? Your parents died in a car accident over 10 years ago. And where did you get a sister and a brother? Aren't you a freaking only child? Like a bolt from the blue. My brain felt a loud buzzing sound. The scenes of false images in my mind seemed to be torn into pieces by a brute force at this moment. How is this possible? I was rooted to the spot like a wooden chicken. The phone slipped and fell to the floor, making a thumping sound. After the call was disconnected, my head began to hurt unimaginably. I rushed out of the bedroom and looked outside. The light in the hall was a bit dim. My father and the other three were still sitting around the dining table. At this moment, they turned their heads and showed stiff smiles. Xiao Che, come and eat. I looked at the food on the table again. They were clearly plates of raw meat. What on earth did I just eat? I stood at the door, my blood freezing and solidifying at this moment. My stomach cramped violently. A strong sense of nausea and the urge to vomit filled my heart. It seemed my premeditation talent couldn't be activated after I slept. And there was one most likely reason. My spiritual value was already below 40 points. Then why, when I was choosing the system rewards earlier, did I specifically give up the 100 spiritual value and choose the one-time extraordinary skill clone? Many inconsistencies clashed strongly at this moment. The conflict made my scalp tingle, as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over my head. Who is interfering with me? To be more precise, my perception must have been distorted. At that moment, I suddenly thought of an ability, Beguile. At this moment I understood why the system had already prepared the task rewards, yet I only remembered to claim them at the last moment. I understood even more now. At that time I was clearly ready to choose the other two sequences, but in the end, I still chose the illusionist. All of this was because I was being parasitized by that S-class ghost. I slowly pulled a black jade piece out of my pocket. This was what Jiang Tong asked me to pass to Chu Ting. But later, due to various things, I didn't have time to return it and had been carrying it with me. And right now, this black jade piece was somehow covered in cracks. It turned out I had never escaped. At this time, a magnetic voice echoed in my head. Haha, did you find out? But it's too late. My head hurt intensely. Each word felt like it was being carved out by a sharp axe. I have fulfilled your wishes. Now, give everything of yours to me. Let me merge with you perfectly and completely replace you. The voice in my head made my hands and feet feel extremely cold. Perfectly merge? I didn't understand what that meant, but it was definitely more terrifying than parasitism. At this moment, a tide of fear swept over me. I felt as if I had reached another world. What should I do? My 4 spirit-related attributes were maxed out. I had to increase my character level before I could add more points. Only the charm attribute was still at 8 points. I could continue to increase it. I had to try anything as a last resort. System, add points to charm. Just as I felt my consciousness was about to fade, I finally made this decision. You used 1 attribute point. Current charm 9. As the system prompt appeared, the darkness in front of me suddenly dissipated and my consciousness returned. My body regained its freedom, and even the headache felt much lighter. Useless. Just a futile struggle. The magnetic, gentle voice sounded again. But I ignored it. Instead, a glimmer of hope rose in my heart. Increasing charm actually worked. And at this very moment, the eyes of the 4 people at the dining table glazed over for a moment. They were no longer dull and wooden. All 4 expressions turned cold and sinister. Come and eat. My eyes flickered. Who were these 4 people? Why were they pretending to be my family? Was it because of the S-class ghost's ability? Thoughts were racing through my mind. Just then, all 4 people at the table stood up and started closing in on me. Their eyeballs protruded, their huge mouths opened wide, and their wide tongues stretched out more than 3 times their length. Their bodies expanded, their bellies became round and bulging, and sharp spikes with a metallic luster pierced through their clothes and emerged. When I saw all 4 of them turning into terrifying monsters comparable to vengeful ghosts, the term killing rules immediately came to mind. Just like the night demon's killing rules related to day and night, the killing rule for these people is to issue a meal invitation to the target. If the target refuses or doesn't respond, these people will turn into monsters and kill. This thought flashed through my mind in an instant. Facing four monsters that had already undergone supernatural changes, I couldn't choose to run. I had to obtain spiritual value and increase my charm attribute. I could only fight to the end. The monster that had turned into my father had already jumped over. Before its body even reached me, its thick, long tongue was already shooting toward me. I instinctively stepped aside to avoid it and suddenly grabbed the middle of its tongue. The father monster let out a painful roar and tried desperately to pull its tongue back. The force coming from my hand stunned me for a moment. Are they this weak? I pulled hard toward me, and the father monster's body was pulled over involuntarily. I raised my hand and threw two fierce punches. Immediately, its flesh was torn apart. The next moment, a sharp pain came from my palm. I looked down and found that there was actually corrosive mucus on the other's tongue, so I quickly withdrew my hand and followed with a kick that sent father flying out like a cannonball, even knocking over mother right behind him. Meanwhile, sister and brother attacked me from both sides. Two wide tongues shot at me from above and below. I sidestepped to avoid them, and at the instant these two tongues were about to be retracted, I quickly grabbed both of them. Before they could pull back, I used my foot to hook the door, and both tongues were clamped by the rapidly closing door. Shrill screams immediately rang out. Seizing this opportunity, I opened the door again and used the beguile skill on father, who had just gotten up. Father's gaze was clearly vacant, and he launched continuous tongue attacks to one side. Even though I was very close, and I didn't dodge, these tongue attacks missed one after another. One of them even hit the younger brother's lower abdomen. Taking this chance, I kept punching the mother monster, then suddenly jumped up and slammed my elbow hard against her temple. From then on, all my moves were ruthless, and before long, I had knocked down all three other monsters. While the four monsters had little strength to resist, I quickly ran into the kitchen and grabbed a kitchen knife, chopping off their heads one by one. To my surprise, however, after these four supernatural creatures had their heads cut off, they actually turned back into humans. Their eyes, which had not yet closed, still held a lingering look of intense terror. A horrifying thought popped into my head. Had I killed four innocent, ordinary people? The gentle voice slowly spoke. That's right. You have killed your own kind. You will surely be hated by this world. Let us merge perfectly. I will take over everything of yours. This is a blessing from the God to you. I felt my consciousness about to slip away again. However, the burning pain from my palm made me wake up with a start. I looked at my hands. They had been corroded by the mucus from the monster's tongues. Something was wrong. I almost let you trick me again. After finding the flaw, the illusory scene in my eyes distorted layer by layer, and those four turned back into their supernatural forms. Although this battle was very dangerous, it made me realize that not all ghosts are as terrifying as the night demon. Then I opened the system panel. It read, "You have killed supernatural parasites. Spiritual value plus 52. It turns out the system had already sent a prompt. These prompts were enough to prove that I had indeed killed supernatural creatures. However, I hadn't noticed them at the time. Next, I spent 10 points of spiritual value to exchange for 1 attribute point, and then directly increased my charm value to the current level cap. When my charm reached 10, the system popped up another confusing prompt. Your extraordinary skill, Beguile, has been enhanced by a power of the same origin. Level increased to LV2. Now you can easily perceive the target's surface level emotional fluctuations, and through sound, eyes, body movements, etc., influence and guide the cognition of up to 3 targets to varying degrees. Cooldown, 15 minutes. Not only that, at that very moment, the splitting headache, as well as negative states like mental stiffness, all vanished. I felt as though I had opened yet another door. The system's charm attribute might not be as simple as appearance or temperament as most people understand it. Instead, it's aimed at the parasitic nature of the specters. That magnetic voice became exceptionally irritable at this moment. Lowly insect, this power belongs to me. You will surely face divine punishment. My eyebrow twitched as I understood. So, this power of the same origin belongs to you. But if I continue to increase my charm attribute after raising my personal level, what would be the result? Can I continue to drain power from you? The voice became extremely cold. If you dare, I will abandon the perfect fusion and completely parasitize your body. Of course, if you find me a suitable vessel, I can leave your body and grant you freedom. Hearing this, I burst out laughing. Can you really still parasitize me? If that were the case, how could I have drained your power? The voice in my head fell silent for a moment. I can stop influencing your consciousness and senses. and guide you to the location of the false gods believers. All you need to do is stop increasing your charm value and find me a suitable vessel. False god believers? Those are believers who worship gods other than the great illusion god. Those pathetic things shouldn't exist in the first place. Upon hearing this, my heart skipped a beat. I realized why I had coincidentally stumbled upon a family of 4 that were all supernatural creatures, but I remained expressionless on the surface. Who knows where you might lead me? If it's an entity I can't handle at all, wouldn't you be leading me to my death? The voice sounded a bit urgent. How could I possibly lead you to your death? You are my chosen partner for a perfect fusion. What I meant was, I still need you to help me find a suitable vessel. I gave a cold laugh. That's not enough. Ultimately, you're a massive threat to me. I think it's better to raise my charm attribute soon and squeeze out all your value. As I finished speaking, the voice in my head suddenly became exasperated. Damned insect. I am the chosen one of the great illusion god. You cannot control me. That is blasphemy against the gods. I became pensive. So, raising charm allows me to control specters? I said nothing, and began changing into clean clothes, appearing confident. The voice finally deflated. Fine. I can grant you the authority of kaleidoscope, but it's limited to appearances. And as for the cost required, you must provide it yourself. Furthermore, once you find me a suitable vessel, I will immediately max out your beguile skill. This is the absolute limit of what I can do. You shouldn't be too greedy. All I ask is that you don't increase your charm attribute anymore. Only then did I show a satisfied smile. Deal. Just then, the system voice chimed in. A supernatural creature from the dark world offers you the skill, kaleidoscope. Do you choose to accept? Accept. You have acquired an extraordinary skill. Kaleidoscope consumes 10 points of spirit to change your appearance into any creature of the same species you have seen. Duration, up to 2 hours. Cooldown, 12 hours. The corners of my mouth curled up, but my heart felt a chill. I survived a disaster just like that. Not only did I kill 4 specters to gain spiritual value, but I also blackmailed an S-rank specter and gained many benefits from it. When I faced the night demon clone parasitic in Tong 1, I had already realized one reality. These supernatural creatures are extremely cunning beings. Even a tiny clone of the night demon was like that, let alone an S-rank specter, which is even more terrifying than the night demon's original body. Could it really be handled by me so easily? I don't know what its intentions are. There must be a trap involved. I felt something was wrong from start to finish. Everything seemed inconsistent, but I didn't waste my mental energy thinking about it because I had no doubt that if my emotional fluctuations were even slightly too large, it would be able to detect my thoughts and then influence the decisions I make. I pushed all thoughts of dealing with this specter deep into my heart, not letting a single idea surface. I'll just wait for the next dream. After putting on a set of clean clothes, I found a sheathed fruit knife in the kitchen and tucked it into my waist. Finally, I found a backpack, put the extinguished oil lamp inside, and with everything ready, I finally answered Zhang Yan's phone call, which had been ringing incessantly for a while. As soon as I hit the answer button, Zhang Yan's shout immediately came through. Lin Che, are you okay right now? What exactly is going on over there? I quickly reassured Zhang Yan. I'm fine now. You don't need to worry. It was just a false alarm. Zhang Yan let out a long sigh of relief. That's good. Where are you now? After saying that, Zhang Yan coughed twice. I raised an eyebrow. I knew he was giving me a signal, so I asked cautiously, there should be officials with you, right? Are they from the same unit as Chu Ting? Zhang Yan's voice hesitated. There are, indeed, but they don't seem to be from the same department. Let me ask. But before Zhang Yan could finish, there was a burst of noise on the other end. A few seconds later, a strange woman's voice spoke. Hello. I am from the official investigation team. My name is Tao Jujia. Lin Che, your current situation is very dangerous. Quickly, tell us where you are. We can come to rescue you. I frowned. I'm fine now. Don't waste manpower trying to rescue me. How is Chu Ting's condition? If you want to know, then tell us your current location. I'll send someone to pick you up, so you can see for yourself. This will also serve as protection for you. I became increasingly impatient. I'm on Taikong Road. How is Chu Ting? Tao Jujia's voice remained cold. I am telling you solemnly right now, your situation is very dangerous. As a member of the official investigation team, I have the authority to order you to answer my questions. And as a citizen, you have the obligation to cooperate with my questioning. Please tell me, what exactly happened on your end just now? I was silent for a moment, and when I spoke, my voice suddenly became extremely hypnotic. How is Chu Ting now? Answer my question. This is more important than your life. My voice seemed to have a special magic to it. As I finished speaking, Tao Zhejia's tone on the other end of the line immediately shifted. He's not out of danger yet. He's currently in a life pod repairing his body. He overexerted himself too severely. I felt a wave of relief. I continued to ask, "Where is the night demon?" Tao Zhejia's voice became strange. It escaped, but after she spoke those last words, she suddenly snapped out of it and let out an angry scream. "What did you do to me?" I hung up immediately. Chu Ting wasn't dead, and the night demon had escaped. I can't have a direct encounter with the officials yet. I'd better leave here first. I left without haste, closing the gate of the small courtyard. At the same time, Tao Zhejia was trembling with rage. She walked quickly toward the elevator, and by her side she was followed by a group of young men and women in suits. Zhang Yan was sandwiched between several burly men, following Tao Zhejia and the others. It wasn't until they reached the underground garage that Tao Zhejia managed to suppress her anger. He overestimates himself. He thinks just because he had some fortuitous encounters, he can look down on everyone. Without official protection, he won't even know how he died in the end. While speaking, she turned to look at the young man walking at the back. "Have you confirmed it? Where exactly is Lin Che?" The young man with the laptop immediately replied, "Confirmed. He's definitely on Taikong Road." Tao Zhejia gave a cold snort. "Go and capture Lin Che immediately. Make sure to bring him back. Arrange for the scientific research department to be ready. Once we bring Zhang Yan there, immediately read his memory using brainwave imaging technology." This kid isn't being very honest either. Just then, her phone rang. After answering, an urgent voice came through. "Captain Tao, this is bad. Zhang Yan has escaped." Tao Zhejia stood up abruptly. "What? 5 of you burly men couldn't keep an eye on one ordinary college student? Deploy the action team to capture him immediately and notify Zhang Yan's family to demand he turns himself in. If he's not found within 2 hours, issue a city-wide manhunt. The same goes for Lin Che." On the other side, having left the small courtyard, I was chatting with the parasitic creature. "You say you can only detect supernatural beings within a radius of about 5 kilometers, and only the lowest level ones? And if they haven't revealed their supernatural form, you can't be 100% sure? Only at close range? Isn't your status a bit underwhelming?" A giggling sound echoed in my mind. "Ignorant insect. It seems you still don't know. The higher the level of an entity, the deeper the degree of taboo and secrecy. Those lives that have been consumed have already entered the embrace of the gods." The voice in my head spoke, eventually becoming incredibly fanatical. I was slightly dazed for a moment, but I quickly snapped back to reality. "You're using your ability to influence me again." The voice gave a hypocritical apology. "Sorry, I just couldn't help myself." As it spoke, the voice suddenly let out a cry of surprise. "I feel it. There's a little fellow nearby." My expression changed, and I felt a faint, vague sensation. I immediately understood this was the guidance it was giving me, just like when I went to that family of 4 before. The further I walked, the stronger that vague sensation in my heart became. Finally, I arrived at a park. After passing through the rockery, a scream suddenly came from the small hillside ahead. I immediately drew my fruit knife and dashed through the dense trees. After rounding a thick tree, I saw about 20 meters ahead a slender monster. It was hunched over a naked man, gnawing frantically. The noise I made running in was not quiet, but the monster actually seemed entirely unaware, continuing to devour the abdominal organs. Not until I was about 10 meters away did the monster suddenly look up. The creature's skin was ulcerated all over its body, and its limbs and torso were much longer than a normal human's. Only its face still looked like a normal human, and a very beautiful one at that. At this moment, that blood-smeared face actually held a touch of eerie beauty. The next moment, the monster vanished and reappeared right in front of me. But I didn't panic at all. My pupils dilated, and I retreated rapidly. While defending, I suddenly raised my hand to stop it. "Wait, we are not enemies." The beautiful monster stayed on all 4s, stopping just a meter away from me. His expression was slightly dazed. "What is it?" I pondered slightly. "What's the trigger for you to transform into your supernatural form?" A hint of shyness appeared on its bewitching face. "Unsatisfied desire." The corner of my mouth twitched. "Good. You can kill yourself now." Then, the creature's expression froze for a second. Immediately following that, it turned ferocious, opening its mouth to bite me. I had already been prepared. The moment I noticed its expression change, I instantly stabbed my knife into its throat. At the same time, my other hand pinned its head down firmly, killing it on the spot. Simultaneously, the system voice rang out. "You have killed a specter parasite. Current spiritual value, 55. After the kill, I immediately went to the park restroom sink to clean up, sheathed the fruit knife again, and walked away quickly. Just then, A mournful voice sounded in my head. Poor child. Though only a believer of a false god, it was still a pioneer. Yet you killed it just like that. I pondered the word pioneer that it had mentioned, and my heart was filled with disgust. But I wanted to get more information about the Dark Land, so I changed the subject. I still don't know how to address you, the voice chuckled. I have left my homeland, but I have not yet truly descended upon this world. I am not worthy of a name of my own. However, you can temporarily call me Phantom Demon. I simply stopped speaking and fiddled with my phone. I saw a text message from Zhang Yan. Those people from earlier are no good. They aren't on the same side as Chu Ting. Be careful. Even though they're just ordinary people, they're carrying firearms. They might be a threat to you, and they've already tracked your phone. Don't get caught. That's all for now. Our phones might all be wiretapped. Don't contact me for the time being. So I opened the search function, trying to find a way to avoid being tracked. After some searching, I decided to throw away the phone. After all, even if I turned it off and removed the SIM card, could still be tracked. But there was a problem. In the future, Zhang Yan used this phone to contact me. Was there some kind of binding effect? If I throw away this phone, will I still be able to contact the future Zhang Yan? This was one of the reasons why I hadn't discarded the phone, even though I knew the officials had already tracked me. But if I keep it, what if the officials find me while I'm sleeping? While I was worrying about this, an idea suddenly flashed through my mind. But before I could plan the next step, I was interrupted by the Phantom Demon's voice. I sensed quite a few little fellows nearby. My heart skipped a beat. Following the vague sensation, I looked around, finally fixing my gaze in the direction of that small hillside from earlier. I got my bearings. Behind it was the small commodities market. I immediately ran toward it. Almost as soon as I left, shouts came from behind. Don't run! I spun around. Figures were moving in the distance. More than 10 people were approaching from 3 different directions, walking quickly across the lawn. At several of the park's entrance paths, black sedans were parked. I had no interest in wasting time there. Instead of stopping, I sped up. With 10 points in the agility attribute, my speed was like a gust of wind, dashing quickly toward the hillside. In the blink of an eye, I had pulled away from the people behind me. Then, a loud shout came from behind. Don't run! If you keep running, we'll open fire. I suddenly looked back. At this moment, all my attributes were maxed out. Even from a distance, I could see 3 people raising guns. As a partial military enthusiast, I took a quick glance at the slender barrels and recognized them as tranquilizer guns. The 3 of them fired, but I used a serpentine movement, trying my best to stay behind the trees. The shots only traveled about 30 meters before being blocked by the trees in the forest. By the time they wanted to fire again, I had already reached the middle of the hillside. Meanwhile, the pursuers all came to a halt. He's so fast. His physical fitness is similar to a night watchman's. He's trying to reach the top of the hill. No. His target is the small commodities market on the other side. Intercept him immediately. A young man in a suit holding a tablet gave orders through his headset. Target will reach the market in 5 minutes. Prepare for interception. Even if you can't intercept him, you must stay right on his tail. Confirmations came through the headset one after another. Immediately following that, the 2 cars at the intersection roared to life, leaving a trail of dust behind. After a while, another off-road vehicle came to a brutal halt in the middle of the road. Tao Jujia threw the door open and jumped out from the passenger seat. What happened? Did he get away? The young man in the suit with the headset stood up straight. Reporting, Captain Tao. Judging from the target's trajectory, he's planning to head to the small commodities market to evade capture using the dense crowds. Even if he breaks through the interception and enters the market, as long as we block all exits and strictly inspect everyone coming and going, then deploy enough law enforcement to conduct a sweep, he definitely won't escape. Tao Jujia's expression softened slightly. Hua Wan, you're still the one whose work I can trust. Hua Wan's expression showed a hint of hesitation. It's just that doing it this way might cause some negative repercussions. After all, the daily foot traffic in this market is huge. Many of them are students from the nearby university city. Before Hua Wan could finish, Tao Jujia waved him off. It's fine. Just do it your way. I will take full responsibility for any consequences. Additionally, arrange for special service personnel to position snipers at these high vantage points outside the market. He's no ordinary person. He's tough. Just leaving him with one breath is enough. Anyway, in the end, with the treatment methods from the night watchman and research department, he won't die. Tao Jujia said indifferently. Over 1,000 people died in one dormitory building. Even Chu Ting only has half a breath left. He's just an ordinary student. Why is he still perfectly fine? Don't you find that abnormal? Clearly, The surveillance showed him covered in blood, walking slowly as if he were dying. But he didn't even go to the hospital. Not only did his body fully recover, but he also mysteriously gained a set of parents and siblings. There must be something wrong with this. Lin Che, a middle-aged woman with a professional appearance, walked up quickly and brought over a laptop. Captain Tao, this is the surveillance video our people just retrieved. Please take a look. Tao Jujia nodded slightly. The video played everything I went through after entering that family of four's home. Except for the bedroom, the living room and the kitchen were all captured. Naturally, this included the mother bringing out the raw meat and placing it on the dining table, and I actually devoured it as if I were tasting a delicacy. The other 4 people sat around, the woman holding a bowl of bright red liquid, claiming it was a bowl of pork rib soup. The young woman was holding a blood-stained textbook, muttering gibberish, speaking in a tongue that no one present could understand. The young brother was smiling, looking like an innocent child, while my face was filled with a happy smile, with tears of emotion flowing down. Such an eerie and terrifying scene. At the time, I didn't notice anything wrong, but seeing it played back in this video, everyone present felt the air around them turn colder, sending a shiver down their spines. Tao Jujia pointed at the screen. A monster. This Lin Che is definitely a monster. We must catch him. Hua Wan snapped back to his senses. Do we really have to do this ourselves? Shouldn't we notify the night watchman? Tao Jujia's attitude was resolute. No, this time, our investigation team must achieve results. Let those old fogies know that when facing supernatural creatures, the night watchmen aren't the only ones who can handle it. Lin Che's value is far higher than Zhang Ye's. If we can catch him and probe his memories, we'll definitely make a major breakthrough in this incident. We might even get intelligence on the nightmare. Hua Wan began issuing orders through his headset. All personnel, focus on the target. Danger level upgraded. Meanwhile, in the northeast corner of the small commodities market, 2 burly men looked around, both showing looks of helplessness. That guy is simply not human. He's so fast, and his stamina is incredible. Number 3 and number 4. Facing that guy, it was like they'd lost their minds. They actually shot their own people with tranquilizer guns. This is just too ridiculous. Yeah, even if you told me to risk my life against a death row inmate. But what the hell is this? They could have clearly asked the night watchman to handle this, but that woman just had to show off and give blind orders. I really don't know what she's trying to prove. The 2 bodyguards complained incessantly. Just then, Tao Jujia's cold voice rang out in their headsets. Target located in Mall Building C. What are you 2 standing around for? Do you have a problem with me? The 2 of them stiffened, startled by her voice. They picked a random direction and ran off. I see him. He went to the 2nd floor. Quick! Chase him. On the other side, I stood at the door of a clothing store, staring at their receding backs. My understanding of the confusion skill grew a bit deeper. Just as I suspected, for different people, the degree of influence would vary. This is likely related to the mental attribute. When I ran into the 3 men with tranquilizer guns earlier, 2 of them fired at their own people without hesitation, while the other one clearly showed a struggling, pained expression, and didn't fire. As for these 2 people's mental attributes, the gap between them and me should be even wider. Not only did they not notice me, but they were also affected by my interference, stirring up their resentment toward Tao Jujia. They even forgot about the headsets and blurted out the grievances hidden in their hearts. The illusion demon must have dealt with me in the same way, except the gap between me and the illusion demon is perhaps like night and day. Just then, a gentle and magnetic voice echoed in my mind. My friend, are you thinking about me? I have that feeling again. There seemed to be quite a few little guys here. With a thought, I immediately sensed it. The guidance this time was very clear. However, I didn't head there immediately. Instead, I first did a quick sweep inside this mall. I knew there were surveillance cameras in the mall, and my every move would be traced before long. So, I first gathered a large number of items that could be used for a disguise. Then, in the fire escape I controlled a porter, changed into his clothes and hat, and sorted the disguise items I just scavenged into various packages. As I walked out of the mall's exit 4, with my head down, not far away, a group of burly bodyguards happened to be entering through the main entrance. At the same time, more people were closing in on this mall's other various entrances and exits. Lowering my head, I pushed the flatbed cart outward without haste. Then, a disdainful voice sounded. Do you have eyes? Can't you see there are people behind you? A guy with a bowl cut and yellow hair, licking an ice cream, walked up from behind. Beside him were 2 young girls, all looking at me with great disgust. Move to the side. Are you deaf? You're blocking the way. In fact, the road was about 6 meters wide, and the width of the cart was less than 2 meters. Although there were many pedestrians, there was plenty of room for them to walk. They just had to squeeze through a bit. However, perhaps because I was pushing the cart in the middle of the path, it made the yellow-haired guy unhappy, and he wanted to show off in front of his two female companions. I sensed his emotional fluctuations, and, through his behavior, guessed his inner thoughts. But I continued pushing the cart forward. At the same time, I mentally controlled the thoughts of all the bodyguards, ordering them to rush to my location immediately. When the yellow-haired guy came in front of me, I quietly stepped aside. Then, I gave the bodyguards an order in my mind. Target identified with 2 young girls. Right behind you. The next moment, several bodyguards bypassed me and headed straight for the guy. He had no power to resist, and was immediately pinned to the ground by 3 bodyguards. Even the 2 girls were restrained. The surrounding pedestrians all focused their attention there, and the bodyguards who had been closing in from different directions now also charged over. Amidst this commotion, I pushed the cart and quietly left the crowd from the side. After leaving the nearby chaos, I pushed the cart around a corner, and occasionally left a package in a corner. When there were only 2 packages left, I reached an intersection. The group of bodyguards in black had already converged from all directions. There were about 20 of them. Some held electric batons, while others reached into their jackets to pull out guns. But sensing the crowd around them, they tucked their guns back in. The onlookers, with a curiosity-seeking mindset, stopped to watch the scene. I quietly pushed the cart to the side of the road out of the way, then charged straight at them. Relying on my maxed-out attributes and perfect integrated combat skills, with them unable to use firearms, I knocked them all down in less than a minute. In such a short time, some of the onlookers hadn't even had time to pull out their phones to record a video. I went up to one of them, leaned into his headset and said, "Tell Tao Judja, I've already seen her. I'll be there soon." After saying that, I snatched a handgun and 2 magazines. Under the horrified gazes of the surrounding crowd, I calmly left, carrying the 2 packages. 2 minutes later, from the intersection between 2 malls, I entered the inner pedestrian street. Although it was a bit noisy and chaotic here, it had a very down-to-earth atmosphere, which was perfect for a disguise. So, I went into a random clothing store, changed into a trendy outfit, picked up my messenger bag containing the oil lamp, and walked out of the fitting room. When I returned to the food street outside, I saw law enforcement officers in uniform everywhere on the street, along with armed personnel with live ammunition. Seeing this, I snorted coldly in my heart. This Tao Judja really went to great lengths just to catch me. Official actions shouldn't be this aggressive. After all, I'm one of the few survivors from the dormitory, and I've shown abilities beyond an ordinary person's. They should have at least tried to communicate with me, whether through incentives or appeals to patriotism. They shouldn't have directly resorted to force for an arrest and even used firearms. Thinking of this, I opened my phone again to check the message Zhang Yan just sent. My gaze fixed on one of the sentences. Those people just now were no good. They aren't on the same side as Chu Ting.